everyone. We have a packed house here, so we'll get going. Now call to order the Leominster Conservation, regular meeting for the Leominster Conservation Commission for February 27th. We have a bunch of continued hearings, and one of the applicants asked, they have a conflict, so they'd like to go first. So we're going to move our third public hearing to the beginning. So pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended to be a public hearing to consider a notice of intent by James Barassi regarding construction of a stone paver patio within the buffer zone of a perennial stream, address 258 Exchange Street, map 395, lot 58, DEP 199, 1063. Is there someone representing the applicant, please?
Yes, sir. Matt Morrow, appearing once again on behalf of Mr. Barassi. I knew you guys wanted to do a site walk, but I don't know if anything ever happened because I never got contacted. So.
Unfortunately, with our agent changing positions, that never got scheduled, and I know the homeowner wanted to be present, and I think it just never...
Well, he wanted me to be present.
Oh, okay.
Just to answer questions on site.
Okay, so that never did take place. I know there was a big issue about seeing it without snow cover, and I don't know if we're... I know lately it hasn't had any snow cover, but, you know, so...
Well, we're going to have at the end of the week.
So, that did not happen.
Well, I mean, I did examine the site based on some of your questions again, and I know that Commissioner Blair had a question on slope, the area between where the patio is currently existing and the stream. There is no slope. It's a flat lot. It does slope off very heavy. I do have some pictures I can send you if you like. Okay. The area that the patio was built on was grass. I know that Marco had mentioned something about a birch log that looked like it might have been used as a retaining wall. It actually was a single birch log that they had nailed into the ground and planted some grass behind. They were using it as a sitting area to look out the brook during warm weather. Other than that, that's basically it. Those are the two major concerns.
Right. It's been a little while, so I'm going to open it up to the commission to see if other members still would like to visit the site and examine it. Thoughts, concerns?
Well, my thought is we're at no different spot than we were last time we met.
Without seeing it, okay.
Yeah, my understanding was the homeowner wanted to be there, and that was making the scheduling challenging.
Actually, it was me that wanted
if
to be there.
Well, that's what we were informed. If it's just you, maybe we can coordinate directly with you and get out there sooner than later.
Right. I would concur with that. Our next meeting is the 13th. That's what it says here. I will make sure that that site walk gets done. I'll notify you, Matt, and we will get a site walk done so we can hopefully wrap this up at the March 13th.
Yeah, I mean, really, I think once you guys get out there and look at it, it's going to be like, oh, okay. And
Right.
it'll just all fall into place.
I know, just from the location of the brook, I know there's some commission members, me included, are just a little concerned, so. I don't see a huge rush in this other than kind of finalizing the paperwork, but.
No, I mean, but when we go out there, I'll remind you again, but I just wanted you to keep in mind that his property does go on the back half of the brook as well, that is still wooded.
Yes.
There is a conservation restriction on that area. That area is, obviously hasn't been disturbed and will be left that way. So as far as like wildlife habitat, stormwater concerns, that was made to attenuate that particular parcel for stormwater, and as well as the parcels uphill. That's why they wanted that area there.
Okay. We will, I will handle it myself, or one of the commissioners, to make sure that a time gets set up, whether all the members can make it or not, but at least one time that the homeowner / engineer and some of us can make it, and we'll make sure we get that taken care of.
All right, sounds
Before
good.
our next meeting, so I'm assuming Marco's got your contact information that I can get from him.
Oh, yeah.
And all that stuff.
Yeah, he's got all my electronic leash line information.
Yeah. So we'll get that, and we'll definitely get that taken care of before our next meeting on the 13th, but I'll let you know.
On wood, You know, live in early spring.
Yeah, we'll definitely try. I know there's a storm coming on Friday. Hopefully it's rain.
Yeah, the nice part about rain, you don't have to shovel.
Right, so. All right, so we'll, would you like to continue it? on
Yes,
the building?
please.
So let's continue it to the next hearing, to the next meeting, I mean, on March 13th, and we'll set up a time and. for a
Okay,
second.
works for me. Awesome, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. See you later.
All right, we'll move on to our next one. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended to be a public meeting, consider a request for a determination by Highland Manor Realty Trust regarding the determination of a potential wetland area, address 826 West Street, map 514, lot 8. Is there someone representing the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, yes, Kent Oldfield, I think we set a date for a site walk on that sometime in April, end of March.
I will have to revisit the
I was
notes.
confused because I know we said there was a date, remember we said because
I
of
know
snow.
it definitely was for vegetation
Yeah.
purposes, I believe,
Right.
so.
Right.
We'll
So
have
now
to,
we'll wait till Friday to see what happens. But I
okay,
know there was a date, I don't know what that date was, but I believe it was the 13th. We were gonna revisit it at that meeting.
at that meeting,
And
okay,
then set a time at that point, so.
okay. I do recall that, I'll just have to revisit the meeting to
Okay.
see if we picked a date or not, I can't remember off the top of my head.
We just pushed the,
We just continued it till the
Till the
13th, I think.
To revisit
Right.
whether there was snow. So.
right.
Right, okay. Right. Next, continued hearing. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, there will be a public hearing to consider a notice of intent by CRX Realty Trust regarding the construction of a condominium and associated parking and stormwater management within a 100-foot buffer zone of a wetland. Address 96 Exchange Street, map 111, lot 6, DEP file number 1991061. Is there someone representing the applicant?
Yes, Jim. Again. This last meeting, there was some items that that's regarding the spillway. We did change the spillway to a catch basin, which allows it going through the catch basin versus the old spillway. The spillway is now just for emergency purposes. So there's a 6-inch orifice at the catch basin. Still have the filtration for the basement. And then catch basin is next, not being used. That's his first emergency, and then there's another one for the emergency spillway, for the secondary emergency. So they would have that.
Yes. I did review them, I just want to,
I know Mr. Colombo had some questions as well, so I just want to go over with him.
Got a couple more later on.
maybe if we can hang them up so we can all see and talk. I think,
And it's kind of small, but I can certainly.
Brad, did you review the calculations? I didn't have a chance to do that. I did review the plans, but I did not review the calculations. Did I match the plans? Did I match the
Okay, so we had, spillway was on this side before.
plans? Yes.
We moved on this side of the wetlands away from the buildings. Catch basin is just a big missile silo, if you would. Catch basin, we have the catch basin with an orifice, then you have the catch basin above, and then the spillway up here. All the flow stops under your storm before it gets to the catch basin lid. So this is the first emergency, if you needed it, and then it's the second one, the spillway,
Okay.
as normal. And we moved everything up, and the 3-1 slope says,
Right.
as they needed required.
If I remember right, it was a slope issue, location of spillway.
Yep.
And
So now we have the
elevations.
wetlands here, so everything is
Right.
away.
commission members, any questions?
Yeah, I received a phone call today
Yep.
that site work was being conducted. So I stopped there today.
Yeah.
And from Exchange Street, all the way down to address 50 and 52, which is the existing units number 3.
Right here,
Right.
okay. I haven't been out there for a while.
There was an entire swath that's bulldozed all the way down. And when you scale from midpoint of that building,
Mhm.
that bulldozer has come within 80 feet of wetland flag A1
Mm.
and A2. So, I would like to know what's going on. You probably can't answer that.
Because I haven't been, honestly, haven't been out there since.
Well, until somebody can answer it, I don't think we should do anything with this. I mean,
So
other than issue an enforcement order.
They're on the buffer zone, is what you're saying, at least.
I didn't tape it,
Right.
but I scaled it on my map, and I come up with somewhere between 80 to 85 feet at the max.
Okay.
There's 10-wheelers up there, they're offloading material. How can they have a permit when the permitting process is still ongoing?
Oh, was there any erosion control in place to
None.
limit their work?
None.
Nice.
It's
Like I
about
said, I
as
have not
flagrant as
been
you can get.
I haven't been out there since the fall, that's all.
Well, I was out there at
I believe you.
3:30 today.
I believe you.
Okay. And that's the picture that you had, or at least the picture of the bulldozers that you had sent us. in
Yes, I
question,
sent the picture.
Taken
Yeah.
by a concerned.
That was taken by a neighbor, it was
Okay.
forwarded to me via email, so I forwarded it
Okay.
to you.
Well, that's what they can't get to.
I would
To
take
approach
pictures.
it, that's what I want.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Any other commission members want to comment on that at the moment? What-
I didn't receive the pictures, so
Okay. It was really just a picture of a dozer at the entrance, so.
Yeah.
It didn't
just-
show
it
what
doesn't
Paul,
show the,
it doesn't show the stuff.
All I could tell from the photo was that the work was being conducted along Exchange Street.
Right.
But then when I got there today at 3:30, I walked down the roadway and I can see that it came all the way down between 50 and 52. So then I went back home and I've got my plans and my scale, and I scaled it off, and we're at like 80 to 85 feet. And there's no erosion controls.
Yeah.
And regardless of that, why is work being conducted on a site when the permitting process is still ongoing? I mean, it kind of shows contempt for what we're doing here.
well, Ken, if you could help us out with that. They have site plan approval already?
Mhm.
Okay, so they're all set planning board wise. Nothing else from ZBA outstanding at this point. So we're the last.
You're the last.
They're waiting for.
Link in the chain.
And everything else is current, correct? Okay. So I guess, you know, in terms of what they're doing outside the buffer zone, we don't have much control over at this
Right.
point. Until or unless we issue an order of conditions, a lot of times there's certain things that we want to condition on the site, particularly when they relate to like the point source discharge, things that are outside the buffer zone that could clearly impact the resource area. But if they hadn't gone into the buffer zone at this point, even though they don't have an order of conditions from us yet, they wouldn't necessarily have to, but because they have gone into it, at least you believe they have been.
Looks like it.
Can I ask just a question?
Sure.
We may have gone over this, but it's probably been ages since we last visited that part. Construction sequencing, I
Yes.
envision that happening.
Construction as far as clearing, you want a list of it, or just?
Brief list.
Yep, just going through, doing the clearing, doing the filling, because this is a plateau all the way down. So we can construct this basin, so anything that flows down here will go to the basin as a stormwater prevention for our SWIP. Then the buildings and pavement and utilities.
Which comes first, buildings or pavement?
Well, probably utilities, then the buildings, and then pavement, because you want to pave up to the,
Any reason you can't get binder down before you start working on the buildings?
I think we could if we do the foundations first. only because you have a foundation and that pavement goes up to the garage floor.
That's right, it's a pretty tight site.
Yeah, so these are garage unders, so you have a pavement that goes right to the garage. So we could get, say foundations, say you're gonna work this way, do a few foundations first, then do binder, and
So
then the second foundation.
Do you think your client might be okay if we had a condition that they put all the foundations in prior to framing?
Oh, absolutely.
That they put in binder?
Because he's gonna build these all, it's foundations, yes, buildings, no. So you can put the foundations and backfill the void for the basements, and then pave afterwards, if you will. And then build as it goes.
What time, I mean, I know this has been ongoing for quite a while, but they want to start ASAP, even with weather?
Based on what I've heard tonight,
Yes,
yes.
it started.
Yeah, but I mean, even with weather, is their plan is to put in, no matter what the weather is, start foundations, start utility work, digging?
It'll be a wet site, so it's not gonna be, I think, filling first.
Yeah, okay,
If, we get as much rain as we're supposed to get this weekend,
right,
you'd have to watch it.
Right,
Because they're not gonna go down through there.
but they're not gonna
Yes,
wait till
so-
May or April to start, they're gonna start as soon as they can, weather dependent.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
And we're at March 1st now. I would say April 1st probably start
Right,
the
heavy
heavy
construction,
construction.
okay.
March is still a lot of snow and rain coming.
I don't know, I heard the weather's gonna be
80%.
nice and warm is what I heard.
There you go.
We get hope.
And I don't know, I've been in other situations that clients have done this, not started, and usually what they have is an enforcement written into the order of conditions that everything shall stop, obviously, and then the siltation and the erosion control in place and inspected by the commission prior to any more work. I'm sure that, the 85 feet, I'm not speaking for them, but it's, it's pretty close to 100 feet, but it is 85 feet, and I understand that.
Again, I didn't tape it, so
No,
I can't be
it's-
positive. but
85,
halfway between
95.
50 and 52.
It's close, it's close.
Alright. Well, does anybody, any commission members have any comments on the plan as submitted barring construction that's going on?
We've come a long way.
A quick question on the changes to the detention basin.
Yes.
Will that affect the figures that you had given me the last time,
No.
that at the 2-year frequency, that's the break off, that the basin's filled?
Yes. Yep.
So that still stays?
That's the, right now, it's, before we were coming right at using the overflow spillway.
Right.
Now we're not. Okay. This is the catch basin. The water will come in that little orifice.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the 100-year storm flows right below the top, below the catch basin rim. So it's not going to go in the catch basin rim, and it's not going to go over the spillway. So it's a little bit lower.
I don't follow.
Okay. Big long story. It's not going to go over the spillway anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be utilizing this orifice. So
What's
as
the,
far as that elevation, yes.
what's
we're
the
over.
elevation between the top of the catch basin and the spillway? Right?
Spillway 2/10. 2/10. But we're also 2/10 below,
Yeah.
so you're actually
So you're
almost a half a foot
6
before.
inches, give or take.
And we still got a half a foot of freeboard to the top of the basin,
Right.
which is one of the things that you wanted before.
Okay. Other comments, questions? With nothing further, I will open up to the public. Is that okay? Anybody in the audience like to speak on this NOI? Second time and third time. All right. Conversations?
Well, I'm comfortable closing it.
Okay.
But I think we also need to notify the applicant that as of today, he does not have a valid order of conditions.
Until, yeah.
The commission has 21 days to issue that, and after that, there's a 10 business day appeal period, which is usually 2 calendar weeks. So there shouldn't be any work happening within that time frame. So for the next 2 to 5 weeks, there shouldn't be any work on site.
Which brings us to the, like I said, April
Yeah.
1st, first week of
Yeah.
April anyways.
Yeah, and I would appreciate it if you could reach out to your client and explain the situation with the ongoing work out there.
I shall.
Because I think we will have to monitor it, and if we have to do enforcement, then we'd have to go
Well,
there.
just to give you a reminder, we do have the SWIP reports that are in the notice of intent. And that's something we can do on a weekly basis. I know the commission is busy, but
Yeah.
we can certainly submit those on a weekly basis once we get the order,
Okay.
until it's stabilized.
And I would add to that, we definitely want erosion control in place immediately, seeing the ground is disturbed and we're into that buffer zone, so that needs to happen kind of ASAP. So not sure how that'll get communicated
I
to.
will write a letter to him, and or an email, and I will CC. I don't have anybody's email except for Marco's. I do have Brad's. Can I use yours, Brad? CC you on that? Okay.
Yeah, if you have Brad's, that's fine.
I'll send it to Brad,
And, yeah, just so one of us has
just so
it.
you know that I had contacted him.
Okay. But that, I definitely would like to see kind of ASAP,
Okay.
just because it's been disturbed, so.
Is there a time frame that?
Should probably get a field measurement too, make sure, before we
Yeah, we
even,
can do that.
just to make sure it is out, whether it is or out.
Well, it
Just-
doesn't matter. I mean, if it's in or out, it's work within.
It's
you know,
pretty
not-
close to it, so I personally
That's
would
it.
like to see erosion control.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
once
yeah,
I
the
get
erosion control,
it's
yeah.
not gonna-
At least erosion
Yeah.
control, and then
Pretty
we'll,
much downhill from the.
Sorry, I'll get the measurement in that email.
that's,
Okay.
Okay, and I'll show it on a little sketch to say where it is
Yeah.
from there. And I'll tape it for
yeah, and then we'll definitely get the measurement. But I personally want to see erosion control now,
2 birds, 1 stone.
so. Okay. Any other questions? All right, I declare the public hearing closed. Does anybody have any motion? Or do you want me to make a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we issue an order of conditions for DEP file number 199-1063, 258 Exchange Street, with the special conditions that the binder pavement be installed, as well as all drainage utilities functioning prior to building framing.
All right, I just want to correct the address. It's actually 96 Exchange Street,
Yeah, we get 2 of them, thank you.
DEP 1991061.
Crossed off the wrong one.
Do I have a second on that motion or something else?
I have some more to add.
Oh, sure. I thought you were done, sorry.
No, sorry. And also with the added condition that stormwater pollution prevention plan inspections be conducted at a minimum on a weekly basis, and reports submitted to the Conservation Commission every 2 weeks.
We good? All right, do I have a second on that motion? Or-
Second.
All right, all in favor? Abstain
Same.
and object. Okay, sir. Did you get all that, Sandy?
We could do that
Yep.
full now.
3, 4, 1 against, and 1 abstain.
Were you for? I'm just want to be clear. You missed
1, 2,
You
3.
missed one of these meetings.
It might have been early on, you're right.
The very first one. I
Was it
was
the very
acting
first
chair
one?
that night.
Okay. So I guess I have to abstain then, because that was the one that I was up again.
So vote again was
2-4.
Two abstain and one.
you need 3. We want to go back to discussion?
We can. Let's open that back up for discussion, that's fine.
Okay, so one way to overcome the quorum issue, if you look at the Mullen rule, you could, for instance, go back and view the tape,
Right.
and then you'd have to check with the city hall how they want to do it.
Right.
I think the town clerk might have a form that you certify that you
Yep.
reviewed all the video evidence, submit that to them. That would make you eligible at least the next meeting
Right.
to vote on it. Because we do need a 3 for action. Because it's a
Yeah, 'cause we don't have a-
7-seat commission, you need 4 for a quorum and a majority of a quorum for action.
Right, we don't have a majority. All right. Larry, you missed one meeting?
One meeting, so I can,
So either one of us has to
yeah.
view the tape that we missed, and go through that process.
I mean, I can watch it, if we can get the paperwork, and if I can fill out the paperwork in front of Marco, I just can't get to City Hall, that's been my problem during operating hours.
Right.
They want it notarized?
Yeah.
Is that what?
I believe that's.
You have to notarize that you actually, your signature on that form has to be notarized.
Mhm.
That I know.
So Marco can do that, if he brings his notary stuff to the meeting.
Right.
I can arrange it, before the meeting.
No, what actually getting to see the video. Is that
Well, it's
a problem?
online, yeah.
Is it? All that stuff's
Yeah,
online.
that's the
so-
beauty of LATV, is they make it available for everybody, so that's great.
So that's easy, we just gotta get the form, okay.
Okay, so we table it till.
So I guess the way it stands right now is it's closed. We can't take action, or at least we tried and failed. So we have to reconvene at the next meeting and try to vote again.
Right.
Okay. Great.
But we definitely, I definitely would suggest erosion control ASAP.
Well, I'll still do the
and-
preventative
and kind of-
actions. And we'll
I would-
just, I assume, I'm gonna go on a limb and assume that will be okay and get order conditions after the next meeting, but I'm
Yeah.
not gonna, I'll just
If you
be
can,
cautiously optimistic on
And, yeah, and I just again reiterate, both of you should try to do that, just in case
Case
one
one
of you's
of them
not
doesn't
here,
get
we
it,
run
yep.
into the quorum issue again.
right, no, we can
Okay.
definitely do that, so. All right, sir,
that. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
1, 2, 3, okay, so we have the last one.
These are the
Yep.
state plans, so.
Yes. All right, another continued hearing pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended. There'll be a public hearing to consider of a notice of intent by traditional concept regarding construction of a single-family home and associated driveway utilities, site grading within a 100-foot buffer zone of a wetland resource area. Address 4 Samoset Drive, Lot 398, Lot 1-43, DP 199-1064. Is there someone representing the applicant?
I will. Chris Mossman from Trowbridge Engineering. So I submitted this back in December. We had a public hearing and scheduled a site visit. We went out and looked around the site visit. Commission had a couple of concerns. The plan that I'd done was based on the design information, the old topography from the original subdivision. And we didn't have any wetlands flags, they were long gone. So went out there, got some new wetlands flags out there, got a report that got submitted to the commission, shot the topography, so now it's, kind of as-built information. I'll tell you, the house is almost exactly, everything's pretty much exactly the same as what was on the original plan.
Positioned as
Positioned,
we
yeah.
talked at the site walk?
Yes, yep.
Okay. This green line is the 100
Realize
foot.
how to go buffer zone, yeah.
Guess I need to get some glasses.
Sorry, grayscale stuff.
No. The eye's getting old. Any commission members have any questions at this time? Go ahead, Paul.
These two large oaks, Chris.
Yes.
Are they staying or going, you know?
I think we want to try and have them stay, but realistically, this one is very close, and I don't know whether it's gonna close enough, honestly.
But the other one?
The other one, I would like to keep it stay. I showed the silt fence going around them, so we take them, they're kind of within our limit of work.
And I'd really like to try to keep the one to the left also. So I'm gonna do all I can to keep it. I just think it makes it better. It makes it a better lot all the way around. So the intention is to keep it.
Yep. And the fisheries and wildlife are all set with the vernal pool?
I had an email exchange back and forth with an analyst down there, Melanie Cheeseman, and she said that they do not, they certify them, but they don't. It's really gonna be either a rare or endangered species before they review a project. And I provided a copy of that email exchange to the commission.
So does this not fall under the estimated there's no habitat in this area, there's no estimate?
No, they no longer have it, it's no longer mapped. If you look at the Mass GIS, I guess there was a polygon there a long time ago, it's no longer there.
One question I have too is, I don't have a problem with this, it's what happens when you're done. This is a pretty sensitive area, vernal pools, it's something we want to, you know, maintain. Is there a way that we can get some of our signs on, you know, maybe on posts or something, like just something around this area so that when somebody buys the house and they move in, they don't decide to start, you know, putting their, you know.
Yeah, we've done that in the past.
What was the vegetation, I can't remember, up on that hill?
The top?
Yeah, was there vegetation that we could add signs to? or-
Yeah, there were trees up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right across the whole thing, the
Because
same
I-
trees, signs that you've given me in the past.
So it was pretty
Yeah,
vegetated
'cause it
up,
goes, yeah.
up in here, you know,
Yeah.
I just, as long as they weren't little saplings, as long as they're somewhat mature
Yeah.
trees.
There's a nice oak tree here you could attach it to. That would keep it in place.
Yeah, because right on the top of the bank there.
Yeah, because they're not gonna go past that bank anyway, so.
Yeah. But it's just sometimes it's easy to start throwing sticks and, you know, lawn clippings over out of sight, you know.
Right,
Yeah, it's already a Christmas tree there.
yeah, it was a Christmas. I just thought if it was on the trees themselves, they have probably a tendency to stay more than if it's on like
Yeah, that's true.
a post,
And it would
it'll
look
probably
nice.
get locked down, so.
So you get a recommendation of how far you want the space, or?
What's our, do we have, I think, was it normally 40 feet? Is that, I can't remember if we had a actual.
I don't think we had a number. I mean, if you
We
can
had a number.
maybe get like, you know, if you feel like, maybe like 3 or 4 of them across.
Right.
Okay, yeah, just as
Yeah.
long as we do and you're happy with what we're
Yeah.
going to do.
Yeah, just so it's, when someone's back there, they know that this is kind of a wetland and they're not filling the wetland. Then they have to come in front of us and get an enforcement orders and all this other stuff,
Yeah,
so.
it's right in my face.
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't think we actually have a number.
No.
Okay. Common sense, okay.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? All right, I'll open it up to the public. Anybody in the audience like to speak on this notice of intent? Yes, sir.
My name's Peter Lanza, 81 Lakeview Drive. If you remember from a prior meeting, I'm the guy that submitted material that, you know, had to pull it certified by the state. I don't know when that area was dropped from the matrix. It's not there. I've looked on the site. My concern is as much upland protection as possible. If you look in the southerly, where the development, where the pools are on the southerly side, oh, excuse me, I'll start with the westerly side. there was a certified vernal pool there that's gone. It was completely filled in. The southerly side, everything's either impervious surface or 90% of it's impervious surface or lawn. So there's been a big impact on upland. That pool is actually part of what can be one massive pool. It depends when you go. You know, if you went there tonight, you'd see floor. There's three distinct. Or if you look on Natural Heritage map, you'll see what looks to be three pools. There are, depending on 2 years ago, you would have seen three pools. 5 years ago, you would have seen one pool. So the depth changes incredibly. That particular pool, in the 20-plus years that I've been watching it, is the only pool in the area where I've seen that maintains moisture, maintains water almost every year. It shrinks enormously from being almost 6 feet deep to being less than 2 feet deep. But that pool, because of that, can sustain life in drought years. I mean, some of these animals have a 20-year lifespan. They need upland. Okay, and it's shrinking enormously, and now it'd be nibbled at. I don't know what happened with the Castline development when they filled that pool in. That population's gone. It's not like they're gonna show up to breed and they say, oh, somebody filled in my pool, and go someplace else. That's the end of it. That's my concern. There is flow from that pool that actually, I don't know if you call it a culvert or a tunnel. I was part of that design when I was on COMCOM. And to give you an idea how much water, like right now it's wet in that area. That floods. I asked the contractor, developer at the time, to actually sand the bottom of the tunnel, and which he did. Twice, there was enough movement of water that actually washed it out. And that feeds the wetland and ultimately ends up into, which is off-site from this project, another set of, these things are all connected. There's an ester there that has been flattened in spots and is highly visible in other spots. The peninsula on Lake Samoset is the tip of that. Well, along that edge, there's a whole series of vernal pools that are all interconnected with, you know, and are being segmented. If you want to see what's there, I've got the pictures. I just hate to see that area less than 1%, a fraction of a percent of the land in Leominster. Just, you know, when Castle went in, there was obviously a traumatic change to the area. You know, death by inches, what the hell do you want to describe it? And that changed. If you went out there now, that pool is 4 or 5 feet below what it's capable of, and it changes every year. So that, and again, it's connected to the other pools. So, you know, there's obviously movement of animals, and anything from, you know, something you look at with a hand glass to apex species that utilize that area. I mean, I know there are black racers in there, which is an endangered species. Get a picture of one. You know, I can only tell you. I've seen them there multiple times. You know, these areas are more than, they sustain an incredible matrix. They're just unbelievable, unbelievable. Some years ago when the biodiversity project was on with a group of kids from Fall Brook, we did 430, 45 different species in that, and it was situated around that pool. That's my concern.
Okay.
Because so much has been already lost that, you know, and they're bringing up land, you know, lawn clippings, and they're already there. You know, they're already there. The posting's a great idea, but, and I know it's your jurisdiction, because I was in contact with Heritage too, and when they shrank and I don't know why, the rare species habitat they're really out of there. And there's been so much violation up there. The whole embankment was removed, which was kingfisher and swallow habitat, and they made them restore it, but they didn't put it back. They made it functional. I mean, people understand that restoration is sometimes just making an area functional, but it doesn't mean that same habitat exists. And I just see that, you know, go and cut trees off-site, graveling off-site. Once it's done, it's done. There's no going back. There's no going back. So, that's my comment.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anybody else in the audience like to speak on this notice of intent? Yes, sir.
Steve Spire, I'm actually homeowner in Ballard Court. While I appreciate Mr. Moss's position and the business need to build on that lot, I echo the sentiments of the gentleman here in front of me and his astute rendition of what that pool means. I see it every day when I drive by. It's quite expansive now. I mean, it does obviously breed through the aquatic process, the vernal pool. I think it's very important. There is a large pool there in various parts. I see that almost encompassing a majority, if not a large amount of that parcel. So whether there is a minimal buildable piece, that disruption to the pool, I think in and of itself is concerning, and what that looks like when it's done. You know, another month or so, wood frog species will be breeding there. It is quite evident. It is quite loud, but that is their habitat. And I have been advised from Mr. Bengrazi that there was a site walk there at the time the land was frozen, but with the recent thaw and the rain, you know, it is an impressive area that vernal pool does make up, and surprisingly has been sustainable. So again, while I do appreciate the business investment that is there, I do strongly advocate that my understanding is the permit to build there, or the request had lapsed, and at a point in time that it was once approved and agreed upon, things have changed. And they, luckily for us, still exist there. They've probably changed and been reduced, as this gentleman said, but they have still maintained over time. And for us to potentially jeopardize that and disturb that area, I think you know, it's something that we have to take into consideration. So I appreciate the commission hearing me out, but I do think that is one of the few defined areas that have been able to sustain the life of the aquatic life that is there, in addition to the other species. I know there are terrestrial things that strive in that area as well, but the vernal pool obviously is more important to the aquatic species. So I appreciate you hearing me out tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to speak on this notice of intent? Second time?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Well, I guess I would say that we designed this thing in such a fashion that we direct the water down into the drainage system of the subdivision. We're trying to keep everything from going backwards. We're actually below the top of the slope with our grading at in the back of the house, and the driveway is all pitched to go into the drainage system. So it takes advantage of the stormwater management aspect of the drainage system.
You may, Mr. Stone.
Take this into consideration and come on back with something else. Yeah, maybe we should. Yes, we can, if you want to, we can try to address any of these issues that we're talking about right now, and come back next month. Does that make sense?
Mr. Stoll would like to speak on.
Mr. Lanza has had some valid points tonight. I've had a lot of experience with single-family home development and subdivisions, and while I'm quite comfortable that this type of project can be constructed without impacting the resource areas that are there. It's usually not the developer that we have the issues with wetlands impacts. It's what happens after the home's occupied. And for this particular lot, having been out on the sidewalk, I can see very easily why somebody has a fairly small, roughly flat backyard and then a quick drop off to what may be an unsightly type of a wetland to somebody, and there's where all my yard clippings and everything else just go. So I've never personally been in favor of signs in particular anyway. I don't think they work that well. Sometimes they do if they do great, but you know, I see people feeding ducks right next to "Don't feed the duck" signs. So one particular option here could be to just put in a fence possibly at the top of the slope. Something that some people couldn't just dump things down the hill over the time, the Christmas trees, the yard refuse, toys that might roll down the hill and never be reclaimed, things of that nature, because the pool is right there at the bottom.
Sure.
I mean, that's still on the map, the rest of it's gone, but we do have jurisdiction of the pool, typically within 100 feet of it or the limit of the resource area. Here it's the BBW, and that's pretty close to the pool. So I think that adding something like that to the yard would certainly make it much better and do a better job of protecting it. I still think this is a buildable lot. I don't see any reason why you couldn't put a house here, but there are some things you can do just to better protect that pool at the bottom there.
And would you prefer us to do that and coming back and see it after we redraw it on the plan?
You know, to me, that's minor enough that I think you could condition that if we can come to an agreement of the location of that tonight. That's it's up to everyone on the commission, but.
No, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, anything we can do to protect that, that area, because it's, topography protects it enough, but it's not gonna protect it from the whole, well, like, as the builder, it's gonna be fine. I can almost assure you that, but it is after the fact, so. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, a 6-foot fence or just, you know, simple wood stockade fence.
Okay.
Up along the ridge there that we talked, and I know there's some habitat issues about,
Can I make a
yes,
suggestion?
yes, sir,
The fence should not go completely to the ground.
correct.
There's a migration issue. Most of the animals in that pool do not live in that pool. When it dries up, they leave. The spotted salmon, the wood frogs, the American toad, that's what the upland area is about. 100 feet is a general
Right.
rule that I always use. Spotted salamanders will travel a mile the night of the migration. A
Usually-
mile.
Usually we try to ask the
But
applicants
if
to
the-
leave
if
it up 6
You
inches
want to
to a
let something
foot,
be able to pass under the fence,
you know,
be it
Makes
a
sense.
turtle, and
yeah,
because there are turtles that breed there. It's an incredible matrix. All are not obligated. Some are just facultative, I know. But I've seen the population just drop off a lot. And I mean, this vernal pool, I just don't want to point out that over 20 years ago. I mean, that's been there. That data has been, we're not popping up out of the ground trying to stop your project. I mean, I don't want to stop your project. I want the pool protected. We've already lost one up there, and an even bigger one not too far away. That's not an issue. But the fact is, they've been destroyed,
right.
you know.
Would a post and rail fence work? And we can put the signs right on each one of the posts, and that solves some of the problems there. It's maybe a little aesthetic than having the stockade fence, right?
I don't think the post and rail is gonna prevent the types of issues that we're talking about. You still, if people toss things over there and things will roll past those pretty easily. I think you
I
can
guess I don't want to
put
put
a
it right at
gap.
the top of the slope. If we keep it in a little bit more,
Yeah,
then we'll have to hurl it, I guess.
Just
All right,
put the
yeah.
6 foot.
6 foot's
Put it
fine.
on our side of the slope. Keep
Yeah.
it 6 inches to a foot off the ground.
right.
You know, that takes care of these concerns.
I think that would address most of these concerns, to keep keep that protected as best that it can be, you know what I mean? I agree with Mr. Stone that, you know, I was on the site walk, and it's definitely, the area you're talking is not gonna impact any of the vernal pools as long as they're protected. You know, any of the construction or grading should not affect it at all, so. Especially if you leave that one oak tree that you wanna leave in there, you know? So yeah, I think that's a pretty good compromise to just put up a fence on this side of the slope.
Okay.
We can, you know, maybe hang a couple signs on the post of the fence or something like that. Yes, sir.
I got two comments. One is, in the past, we've had I don't, it was been a while, but there was a project where they were in a sensitive area like this, and we just asked that there be there was a form or something that we attached to the deed or something, so that basically when the homeowner bought it, they had to sign off that they recognized that they were buying a property with a wetland on it, and that they were aware that, but you know, there's no further encroachment into the wetland, that, you know. I mean, it's just something so the homeowner can't say, hey,
I didn't know.
sold me this house, never told me it was a wetland, I don't know what a wetland is, you know.
Isn't that in the boilerplate?
I don't know if that would help. I mean,
My take on deeds is people never read their deeds.
yeah.
It's not, it's great to think that that's gonna work, but,
All right.
But there's nothing that they can sign?
I do remember back a few years ago, us trying to do that, and I can't remember if that was attached to a deed, but basically
We
just,
have an order of conditions that's outstanding now for a home on Sheldon Hill Drive, and we're waiting for a notarized letter from the owner, but they're aware of the fact that
That's
there's
correct.
wetlands behind it.
that's a little, that one's a little after the fact, but you're correct. You're
So we
correct,
could do something like that.
you know.
I mean,
Yes,
just
sir.
a thought on that. One thing that you could do at the certificate of compliance time is to just put in a ongoing condition, and there is a slot for that in the certificate, that fence be maintained in place in perpetuity. If somebody goes to transfer that property, then typically the attorney representing them will pick up on that. The certificate's been issued, but there's still that particular issue. Whether they relay that information to the client or not, but at least somebody sees it and it's there, and you know they should be made aware of it.
Hopefully an attorney will mention that to him during, we can go that route. I think that would be well
Yeah,
enough at that
that's probably
point.
a good way.
Put it in the actual
Is
deed
there-
documents, yes, sir.
And I'm gonna forget this one, so, is there anything in the boilerplate about fertilizer use? Because this is like right on top of it.
I don't think it is. If I remember right, I don't think it is, because I know that's something we always kind of added,
Yeah,
so I don't think.
because I mean, I know this area, I mean, you know, a lot of the developments, they, you know, people have like landscapers come in and they'll, you know, the neighbor has it done, so they'll just have somebody come in and they're, you know, I don't know, I mean, I don't know how close we wanna get to having fertilizer applied, I don't know.
You need something to establish the lawn initially. After it's established, in a lot of cases you don't need it. People just do it thinking they do, but you know, just as long as they put enough topsoil there.
I mean, if you want to add something to the order, that's fine. I mean, I know that's what we've done in the past, Larry. If you
Yeah.
feel that's necessary to add that.
I mean, I don't wanna, I'm kind of torn, but I mean, I think that, I mean, if someone doesn't, if it gets applied too close, or, you know, they have some sort of spreading machine, you know, I mean, I know that little thing I have at my house that tosses it forever, you know?
Right.
Those are like 6 feet.
Yeah,
Right.
so,
I'm pretty sure it's not in boilerplate, so if you want to add that, we can definitely add that to the order.
I think it would be a good idea, based on how close it is.
Mr. Colombo, yes?
Yeah, I got a follow-up question, Chris. You said the driveway is pitched?
Towards the road, so there's a
Towards the
downward
road.
pitch
Okay, all
towards the road, so it'll run into the catch basins
right.
that are in the road, runoff well.
Because we only have this plot plan, I'm assuming there's a garage?
Yep, it's a garage under,
Single car, double car?
double car.
Double car, okay. All right, I'm all set.
Any other commission member comments, questions?
I think the fence is definitely necessary. It's not a big lot. So
Okay.
it made me feel a lot better.
Okay. Before I close the public hearing, anybody else like to speak on this notice of intent? Any objections closing it? All right, and now declare the public.
Mr. Chairman, if I can be of any help at any point, feel free to contact me. I know Larry knows where I live, we're in the same neighborhood, so to speak.
I feel bad for you.
Well, I was there first, and moved in, but I'd be more than happy. I mean, I'm not trying to stop this project. It's just that there's been so much loss already. There's a really good article in the address section of last Sunday's Globe on native plants. In part of the article, they said fertilizer is pollution. So and I know that's hard to enforce, but maybe an education would help. I don't know.
Well, we appreciate that, and we will let you know if we ask for your assistance. We
I
appreciate
got lots
that.
of pictures.
All right, I now declare the public meeting closed. Do I have a motion? And I will go through the list, or someone else that issues the motion can move the list of conditions.
All right, here we go.
You can try.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we issue an order of conditions for 4 Samoset Drive, DEP file number 199-1064, with the special condition that the applicant install a stockade fence along the top of the existing slope with a minimum gap of 6 inches, not to exceed 12 inches. And prior to installation of the fence, that they submit a amended plan showing the fence location, just so we can verify that. And I'll defer to Larry on the fertilizer one.
All right. I guess just no use, I don't know how to even word, no use of fertilizer on site with the exception of establishing a lawn, the initial establishment of lawn.
Any other conditions do we want? Do I have a second on that motion with Mr. Stone's and Mr. Giannakis' recommendations?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Opposed and abstained. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lanza. We appreciate it.
Anytime. Okay, happy to do it.
All right, moving on to our first hearing. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, will be a public hearing to consider a notice of intent by Pier 3 Builders, LLC, regarding the construction of a single-family home and associated site grading, driveway paving within a 100-foot buffer zone of a wetland resource area, address Royal Oaks Way, Lot 12-2, map 514, Lot 12B, DEP file number 199-1066. So, represent the applicant.
Yes, my name is Jay Finley, I'm with Finley Engineering. I'm here on behalf of Brian Campanelli, who's the owner of Pier 3 Builders. Brian is in the process of acquiring this lot to construct a single-family home at this location here. We had the wetlands delineated by Art Allen from Ecotech. They're shown in the greenish-brown type areas. Existing on the site right now is a constructed driveway. It's somewhat overgrown. This project goes back to 1999. It was originally approved in 1999. There was a plan prepared by Woodman and Bingham. It was very similar to this plan here. That plan showed the construction of a single-family home, connection to public water, public sewer, underground electric. That plan proposed the construction of the driveway through the wetland with some wetland replication. Since that time, the driveway has been installed, the water and sewer lines have been stubbed, and the underground electric have been stubbed. onto the site according to an as-built plan that we have dated back in 2010. In 2010, the board issued a certificate of compliance on that work. Within that certificate of compliance, they mentioned that any further work would require a new notice of intent, and that's what brings us here tonight. So what Brian and his client are planning on doing is formalizing the driveway. Right now, there's a stone wall on either side of the driveway with two 12-inch ductile iron pipes at this location here. It's been brought to subgrade. The driveway will be nominally graded. Right now, it's somewhat overgrown with loam and brush in that. It'll be cleared of the loam, siltation control fence, and staked straw bales will be installed around the perimeter of the work area, shown by this dashed line. We're going to connect an E1 ejector sewer system to the existing force main that was stubbed back in '99. We're going to continue the water line into the dwelling. We're proposing a footing drain in this location here. Driveway is going to be a side entry in this area right here. Most of the site is within the buffer zone. This green line here shows you where the buffer is, so as you can see, most of 98% of the work is within that zone. There's an existing sewer manhole here, got the existing force main that was installed back in '99. Discharges to, and that flows gravity out to Royal Oaks Way. If you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. I probably should give you the certificate of mailing. Okay, take those.
Any commission members' questions?
I'll start.
Yeah.
I looked through the older file, and you're correct, the certificate of compliance was issued 2010. And when you look at the submitted plans for, I believe it was September 1999, the wetlands replication area, which I assume was done, doesn't match up with the delineated wetlands that you're proposing on this plan right here.
Right.
And I was wondering why.
I'm not sure.
Either
I'm
way.
not sure. We had a certified, wetland biologist go out, flag the wetlands as it stands today. This as-built plan shows that there was some constructed wetland replication out in this area here. The original plan called for some wetland replication down in this area here.
No, the original, the plan that I looked at shows.
This one here? That's the as-built plan.
Right, it was showing replicated wetlands along, is this a stone wall?
That's a stone wall.
It was all along here, which I couldn't understand why the new.
That plan I'm not familiar with. We have a portion of the original plan by Whitman and Bingham, which is similar somewhat to what they were trying to show here. They're calling for 4,400 square feet of wetland replication. Right out through that area there. It appears that they were, with this as-built plan, they were saying that this area did not get constructed. This area did get constructed. So I don't see any wetland replication up in this area here.
Well, I wasn't on the commission, so I'm just looking at, files that were in the office.
Right. So no, I'm not familiar with that. But those are the two plans that we found.
So this was a successful replication?
That was supposedly the replication that the board took into account when they issued the certificate of compliance in 2010.
And that was the payback for what you took for the driveway going through the original well?
Right. Originally, there was 2,900 square feet proposed to be filled and 4,400 square feet proposed to be replicated. It looks, according to this plan, as though 2,900 square feet was filled and 5,500 square feet was replicated.
Can you show us on your display where that is roughly?
Roughly, the 5,500 was out in this area here, and some of the 4400 was in this area here. I overlaid those lines, and I compared them. It looks as though we obviously don't have the flags from 1999, but when you compare the two plans, it looks like 3,803 square feet of wetland was actually replicated. So it called originally for 4,400. It looks like you got 3,803. The filling was 2,900, so what took was about 31% greater than what was filled. So at this point, it's stable. You know, our thoughts were, let's start with what we have right now, and let's finish what was started so long ago.
So what was replicated is currently wetland from those
Not
plans?
in completion.
No, but that 38.
That 3,800 is
in that
within
It's
is
in
within these areas.
wetland.
Right,
That's currently.
right. So you didn't get the 4,400, but you did get 3,800, and they filled in 2,900. And obviously the reason for the overruns proposed is to make sure that you get at least 1-to-1.
Right.
So you got 1.3 to 1. So I wasn't here in 2010 when they accepted the certificate of compliance, but I would assume that there was some type of similar conversation at that time.
What's the construction site look like now? Wooded?
No, it's wide open. Everything's wide open. It looks like the area was cleared and basically abandoned years ago. There's, you know, little shrubs and grasses.
So that
It's
upland you're
fairly
showing
open.
that's not gonna be disturbed is clear?
It's cleared. Yeah, for the
It's
most
just
part, it's cleared. Here's the top of the
shrub.
slope right here.
Okay.
Yeah. So this area is somewhat cleared. Yeah. It looks like they opened up the entire site years ago, and it's just, you know, it's flat as a pancake out there. It's just grown in a little bit over time.
Is the erosion control, you said it goes around the entire disturbed area,
Correct.
and that's shown as straw wattle silt fence?
Straw wattles, silt fence,
Okay.
or straw hay bales and silt fence, either or.
Any other questions?
The driveway as it presently exists, is that paved or
No,
gravel? or-
no, I think it was probably brought up to subgrade back so many years ago, and over time, you know, there's grasses that have grown up, so there's certainly
Mhm.
some loam to it. At this point, it's gonna need to be scraped off, the vegetation's gonna need to be scraped off, they'll bring the rest of it up with sub-base gravel, and then pave the driveway and stabilize it.
And what preventative measures will you have in place once it's completed to protect that wetlands from runoff in that driveway?
There's stone walls on either side that were proposed, and the driveway will go right between those stone walls, and that is about all you'll have. You'll have you will have the walls there.
How tall are those
Yeah,
walls?
so it's all right.
The walls are probably 2 or 3 feet.
And that's in the plan now, that's what's being proposed?
They're
Or they're already there?
they're already there.
Oh, they're
Oh.
already
They were constructed as part of
there, okay.
that
I
prior.
think it's just
Brian
natural,
noticed.
natural stone.
They're just natural stone.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they created the head wall for the twin ductile iron pipes that were installed to carry the flow beneath the driveway.
And the walls come all the way up to,
They do. They start right in here, they come right around, they hit this interior wall here,
okay.
and on this side here, they kind of come in and diminish in this area here. The area is fairly stable right now.
Would it be possible to extend it up into here? Because I can imagine, like, it would be a pretty easy thing to start pushing snow in there in the wintertime.
Yeah.
It could be.
Because snow storage is an issue here, we got nowhere to put it, so.
We got plenty of spots over here.
Well, yeah, but they're not gonna plow into the backyard.
No, certainly over here, and yeah,
Or, like, we don't want snow storage, there can't be snow, like,
Into the wetland.
there's gonna be no snow storage in the wetland, so
Right.
they're gonna have to put it somewhere.
mhm,
You know, over here's not a bad spot, but I mean,
right.
it's just,
Yeah,
if
you
the
think it'd be
wall.
one
is-
big push,
Yeah.
here, here.
Yeah,
You know, obviously you get an embankment here.
right. But if
You-
that
you
little
could- you
wall
could
extended like up into this.
Extend the
point here.
wall, put some, just boulders right up just to demarc, like a demarcation line. That's where the wetland is, just outside the wetland, I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, because if you get a lot of snow,
Right,
You're
I
gonna
think
be
in this
tempted.
situation here, he's not gonna have much choice but to
Right.
push things this away and have to get it out here and get it over here and then turn around and come back out.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna be, you know, this area here is so confined between those walls, it's gonna be difficult to do anything with the snow except get it going.
Now, did you say there's an existing wall to the right of the driveway?
There is, this is an existing interior stone wall which sets a nice demarcation line
Okay.
to protect you out in there.
So that's
And
kind of
there's
protected
one here in the wetlands, but yes, this continues right through.
Goes right up.
You have a nice limit of work all the way through on
On
this
that
side.
side, yeah.
And like you said, if you continue that wall up, right up to here, up to here, yeah, that would protect things. You ran it right up the wetland flag.
I was gonna say, I would-
B34, B33.
I would say right to the limit of the wetland there.
Right here?
Yeah, somewhere in
Yeah,
there.
so if you want to condition that, it's wetland flag B33.
Yeah.
That wall would be continued up along to B33.
I think that would help with your snow storage issue,
Yeah.
because they're not gonna plow, like you said, all the way to the yard.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
You know, I don't mind it all the way up the other side, at least it's protected. Okay.
I think this is another site that we have to be concerned about fertilizer too,
Oh, yeah.
because there's, I mean, wetland everywhere,
Right.
so it's gonna have to be.
Questions, comments?
Just take one comment.
Yeah.
Um, Just to touch base on Paul's prior comments, I looked at the originally permitted plans as well, and I was a little confused about where your application area was initially shown, where it was done. But I also thought that Ecotech's delineation looked more conservative, potentially looking at the plan, because it looked like we had gained areas towards the south. So listening to Mr. Finley say that that's where the actual application went, it just makes sense there. So I don't think we've lost it based on what we see on paper.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Mind if I open it to the public? Anybody in the audience like to speak on this notice of intent? Second time and third time? Any comments or concerns before I close the public hearing? Okay, I declare the public hearing closed. Do I have a motion with recommendations for this project? Go ahead, if you'd like to go.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we issue an order of conditions for Royal Oaks Way, Lot 12-2, DEP file number 199-1066, with the added special condition that the stone wall be continued up to wetland flag B33.
And I'll add the discontinue of fertilizer beyond the initial setting of the lawn. We'll go in with the proposed grassy area. Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor? You're all set, sir?
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Our next hearing, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended. There'll be a public hearing to consider a notice of intent by Ray Tech Construction LLC regarding construction of a single-family home and associated site grading with a 100-foot buffer zone of a wetland resource area, address 45 Overlook Drive, Lot 2, map 480, Lot 921, DEP file number 199-1065. Someone representing the applicant.
Yes, Chris Moss from Trophy Engineering, who's doing the butter notification. It's in charge of everything.
I'm in charge of everything, I guess.
Again, another single-family house, so nice little small. This is a lot down on Overlook Drive, and pretty straightforward. There's a wetlands in the back. Back where there's an old unconstructed road. And so we're putting the house 40, 50 feet back from the property line, right of way. Sewer and water connections, driveway connection, a little bit of grading in the backyard, and some silt fence midway down. So we're not really very deep into the park. So.
What's the site now? Wooded?
Wooded, yeah,
Oh,
just
wooded.
pine trees, yeah.
Okay. You're only gonna clear 2 silt fence
The silt
area?
fence, yep, that's what I went through with the builder.
Okay. Commission members, any comments or questions?
When were the wetlands flagged? When was
I think
that
they're
done?
flagged in the fall. Yeah, Chuck Herring flagged them. I think it was originally done with another engineer, but I noticed it was Chuck that he typically does, that I work with.
I haven't seen the site. I don't know, has anyone been able to get out there?
That's
I have
why I
not
was
seen
asking
it.
about the flags.
Yeah.
So they're all clearly visible if I were to go out there tomorrow?
Yes, yes.
Do we have his report, check hearing? Is there, did you submit the check
I
hearing
did
report?
not get the report. Again, it was done for another engineer. I did ask Chuck if he had done it, and he said yes, that he had.
Yeah, without that, we wouldn't know how long ago it was actually flagged.
Well, I think it was part of, this lot was cut off from the adjacent house, and the wetlands were flagged, and the wetlands were shown on the A&R plan when it went to the planning board. And this was done last fall, so.
So is this something that, this didn't come into us though, right? Would it be a budding property, a budding project that he flagged it for?
No, this is just an A&R, so I think the planning board must have regulations that require that you show where the wetlands are on the lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess either way, we can go out and
Yeah.
see how they, you know.
Colin?
I have just a couple questions. So the topography shown here is from a plan in 2009?
No, no, that was shot by Zoc surveyors.
How recently was that?
Probably a week before I prepared the notice of intent.
So this, okay.
Yeah.
So, did they hit the elevations at the flags at all?
They did not.
Because one of my concerns was the elevation of the foundation. It looks like you're,
He's gonna need to put a sump pump in.
any way we can raise that so they're avoiding that?
I went through it with him, this is where he wants to have everything set, so that was my recommendation. If you're gonna put it here, we're gonna need to put a sump pump in.
Well, I guess I'd like to see an alternative to show what you could do minimally to avoid using a sump pump, just to see what that would look like. You know, if it looks terrible and it doesn't work with the landscape, one thing, that's something we could consider. But I'd hate to make a homeowner with a new house built in 2018 reliable on a pump if you can avoid it. Plus, there have been a number of instances where if there's a spill or something in the basement, there's been contamination problems with what's gotten into the sump, and ultimately just dealing with the discharge and the release. And you can keep everything underground and eliminate the electrical use, the failure possibility, everything else.
Sure, no, I don't disagree with you.
So other than that, and just, I guess we really need to see it, that's my only concerns.
How are we, how are we scheduling site visits? I mean, it's
Marco.
We'll definitely get, we'll have to figure out, I know we need one by the next meeting, hopefully, so. Between Marco and myself, we'll
Yeah, I'd love to come if,
get you and the builder or whatever
okay.
wants to attend. But I think the plan's pretty good. I don't have a major problem with it. I think some of the concerns that came up are pretty valid, but I wouldn't mind. It looks pretty flat, so I'd rather see the house raised a little bit than some pump myself.
Well, I will get him coming to you.
Well, I think it's, I agree a lot with Mr. Stone on that side of things, that, you know.
Would something even work? I mean, it would be coming in as quick as you pump it up.
I don't think the soils are that bad there. I mean,
What the elevation is, there's very little, I mean, we don't know the elevation of A4, A5, A6, but we're only talking a foot. Maybe.
yeah.
I mean, you get a lot of water, that's not going to do anything.
Well, if the soil, well, it's debatable. Yeah.
Hopefully we bring the building up.
Yeah. It's just a lot of people that have sump pumps don't think of the stuff that they have in their basement and just pump it out.
I used to have one in the house, I know what that's all about.
So, and that's probably where it's gonna get pumped to, would be the backyard, hence
Yes.
right towards the wetlands, so.
Exactly.
But yeah, if you'd like to continue it to our next meeting,
That sounds wonderful.
and we'll talk about, if you wanna speak with your client about. I didn't, so I will. You know, maybe if he wants to try raising it, I know, like you
Okay,
said, it's
I'll
up
talk
to
to
him, just. See, and in the meantime, we'll definitely we'll do it all in conjunction, site walk. and
Okay.
You can work on the plans with him, and if this is the best you can come up with, then that's the best you can come up with, we'll deal with it at that point.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna open it up to the public. Anybody here would like to speak on this notice of intent? Second time and third time. All right, I'm gonna leave the public hearing open, and we will continue it to the March 13th meeting. And we will try to get a site walk and you can go with some new plans, and
That'd be great.
we'll go from there.
All right.
Thank you,
folks.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Next hearing, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended. We have a public hearing for notice of intent by USA Auto Sales regarding the site grading for used automobile staging area within a riverfront area in the associated 100-foot floodplain, address 392 Central Street, map 483, lot 6 and lot 6A. Is there someone representing the applicant?
I am. For the record, my name is Brian Melissi with Living Associates, here representing Asad Al-Hayek, who's right here with me. He's the property owner of 392. Excuse me, but point of order, I'm just down with the collecting these or anything else, but those are okay. Lead tabs for. What we are here in front of you tonight is for a notice of intent to do some grading work within the riverfront protection area and within the floodplain on 392 Central Street. This is just a very crudely colored up version of one of the plans that was in the plan set. Very quickly, Central Street runs along the bottom of the plan here. Albert Street is over here. Tossie Street goes this way. If you go out there today, there's two existing buildings located colored here in brown and some existing paving. The site was the home of a contractor's yard, junkyard. Some of the uses kind of made a mess of the property. I believe Mr. Al-Hayek bought the property about a year or so ago. I don't have the exact date off the top of my head, but since he's on the property, he's started to clean things up. I believe some of these storage trailers here are already off-site. Just a general cleanup.
Okay. This is the whole property?
This is the whole property.
Okay.
It kind of comes back over here, away from Reservoir Brook here, but he comes back, he comes up and around.
Thank you, sorry.
The assessor's maps call it parcel 6 and 6A, but it is one piece of property.
Okay.
Mr. Al-Hayek wants to conduct a used automobile sales operation here, just as a quick point of order. We have been in front of the Leominster Zoning Board of Appeals, where we received our special permit for the use. Now we have filed with both this commission as well as the planning board for site plan approval and for that special permit to work in the flood zone. That used to be governed by the ZBA, or the city council, excuse me, and now it's a special permit from the planning board. Some of the items that you do see on this plan have to do with some of the comments that were made at the zoning board of appeals meeting. Pretty much some of the signage and whatnot, but I know that doesn't typically concern a conservation commission. The regrading of these two access areas here was part of that ZBA process. As part of our proposal, we are not adding any more pavement. If you go out there today, this paving is already in. We are going to provide a little bit of restriping in order to meet zoning code. So as part of the project, what we do is this plan will show you a parking lot layout, but there's also a note on the plan that says we do not intend to stripe this. This is really for licensing and whatnot to show how many used cars you could get out there. We use the configuration of a standard parking spot in the city limits are only for layout purposes. A lot of times you'll see these facilities double, triple stack. When Mr. El Hayek hopefully runs his business here, if you were to go and want to purchase a vehicle and say, boy, I like that little red one that's over here, you wouldn't be allowed to the rear of the property to go grab that vehicle. He would have one of his employees go grab it and bring it up to the front. So really the parking areas for inventory staging, like we tried to say in the NOI, and for that matter. Purple line here represents the flood zone. Reservoir Brook, 100-foot inner riparian zone is this dash line, 200-foot outer riparian zone is here. What we've done on the plan, I have denoted the 50-foot riparian zone. I know that's kind of a made-up term, but what we propose in our proposal would be to restore the area here in green, remove the existing gravel that's there, and restore it to a vegetative state. Loam seed, as of right now, the plan calls for just a wildflower mix to let it kind of go naturally. Similar to what they did over at LKQ, which is actually a junkyard in the city. I don't believe they were in front of this commission, but they regraded the area using crushed concrete. And what we propose to do here is that same idea. Propose to regrade the area utilizing the crushed concrete. It still provides impervious cover, a little more durable than the gravel that's out there now. A lot less maintenance for, on a gravel area, gravel roadways. You end up plowing, get rid of some snow, you always kick up some of that gravel. We figured it's a better wearing course than that. Although we are, in the notice of intent, we're working in the flood zone, we're not proposing to change any of the grades in the flood zone. The detail of the plan calls for a 4-inch layer of that crushed concrete. We remove the 4 inches, we put the crushed concrete back. So we're not changing any grades, save for the two areas here on the entrances that would be regraded. I know I was brief. There were a few things on that plan. Again, as far as the ZBA goes, some screening activities are going to go in and around some of the abutting properties and whatnot. And I know I was brief, and I probably forgot a couple of things, but I would turn it back to you for any questions.
All right, Commissioner. Yes, sir.
What's the maximum number of cars that would be stored on the site?
176 is what we have counted for laying out the layout that you see. And so the plan calls for 176.
So about 150 would be on that crushed concrete?
Correct.
Max. What is the slope from, say, the pavement part of the project back towards the river itself?
So there's if you go out there today and kind of stand at the edge of the paving, there's a decent sized slope here, 8 feet or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get down into this area, it's all very, very flat. It does drain in here's my northern arrow. It drains in kind of an easterly manner here, but it's fairly flat.
But eventually...
But there is a gradient that comes this way, correct?
So in like a tremendous rainstorm, it's going to flow towards the river, right?
Correct. A tremendous rainstorm that flows to the river now. That's kind of why we picked the 50-foot to kind of revegetate the area here, provide a filter strip. Again, what I depicted here is really, what we picked up as the edge of the gravel is that outer limit of that green area to where we're gonna replace it. Anything beyond that is a fairly good slope here along the brook, and here that's remained wooded. And so what we're trying to do is provide more of a filter strip area here, in order to improve some of that.
So it's just a sheet flow off the property, there's no drainage. What about, have you considered, I mean, you said they use cars. People get rid of used cars for reasons. What about leakage, like oil, gasoline, antifreeze? What's the provision for that?
I mean, it's used cars, they're not junk cars. The provision would be, in any other normal situation where you see there's an oil leak, you have a kit on site, you go clean that up. You know, we did look at, again, albeit very briefly, about paving this area. There's always that trade-off. I understand on a vehicle, it'd be better to have some hard concrete or some pavement in order to direct some of the oils and whatnot into a catch basin or water quality unit. However, the flip side of that is it provides a whole lot more impervious area.
Sure.
And so our proposal is to try to keep it gravel, or the crushed concrete, excuse me.
That's a pretty big area. Where is the snow gonna go during?
So the snow, I mean, obviously, we're not gonna push it into the river or off the pavement into that thing. So there's an area here that we are trying to be cognizant of the abutters and whatnot, so that as of now, there's no cars or anything scheduled for this area here. So really what we're gonna be having to do is plow it out of here, away from all the buffer zones, and then again, as it melts, it would kind of go all the way that way, so, yeah. We would certainly be, it would be a lot easier to just plow it that way, but we know we can certainly do that.
So that would be, where's your north arrow?
With arrows this way,
So that would be the
southwest corner.
Okay.
Yeah, because a lot of times, like, you know, even having it in like the floodplain, you know, then now you've reduced the amount of, you know, flood storage. So I mean, I definitely would like to see like no snow storage.
Snow on the south
Yeah.
westerly, is that what we designed it was, southwesterly side of property?
And to keep it out of the floodplain.
Yeah.
Now, you said the green is going to be put in?
It's gonna be, yeah, it's gravel now.
It's gravel now,
Yeah,
okay.
actually, you know what, I always take a kind of an aerial,
Okay.
this is what it is. So it is all disturbed now, but they pass these on, probably should have done that before I started yapping.
I'll have a whole bunch of copies.
But, I'm sorry, to answer your question, is it's gravel now, same material that's out here, and so, yep, we would remove the gravel, scarify it, replace it with loam and seed, and revegetate that area. As you can see, you know, the little offshoot area here at the bottom of the page that would represent this little gravel area that's over there. You see what there's a trailer or a couple of cars parked when they took that area.
Where's that on that map? I see it on here. Where
That should be over here.
oh, it's that area.
Brian, what are those,
These here, those are some old storage trailers that were here when we went out to the existing conditions, exactly. That were there as part of some of the previous operations, and we just haven't known that they're gonna be removed. So I just hatched them in there just to,
They're removed now,
they're already removed.
a long time ago.
What's, and I know this is a new business for you, obviously, but what is your envisionment of the number of cars? I know we talked about what's the potential, but, I mean, you want to put as many cars
As many as
you
the
can
numbers,
fit into
yes,
there? Okay.
And there's no cars that leaks oil. I buy all pre-owned car, new cars, 2013, 14, 15. I don't buy any crash cars or any.
Okay.
So to follow, hopefully we, again, we are successful with this commission, successful with the planning board. Mr. Alhayek's next step would be to the licensing commission. And there, at that stage, he would get a license for X amount of vehicles.
Yeah. I'm just curious if his plan was
Yep.
to basically fill what he can, or is he, you know, just for my own purposes, I guess, to. Now, where it's currently paved, that's gonna stay just restriped and cleaned up. And you have to add in those, or is that already there, those kind of those ramps to the,
It's already a gravel ramp. on
There is
both of
already
these. There
ramps
already is
there,
gravel
okay.
ramps. It was, again, at the ZBA, they asked us to kind of even out the grade a little bit. It still grades down.
right,
But just to kind of.
But those
move it
are-
down a little bit.
those are currently existing, just obviously fix them up for their grade, okay. Any comments,
Yeah.
questions?
Questions? So the material that you're gonna use is concrete?
Correct.
The detail on the plan show crushed stone detail. Is that for a different area on the plan?
Yeah, it was a crushed concrete. If I didn't call it out correctly, I apologize, but it's a crushed concrete. It's being made, again, they use it at LKQ. We use it in another project in Sterling. It comes about 2" minus. It's being, manufactured by the concrete plants. They crush up old concrete. It spreads like gravel. But it's not, there's certainly not anything fine, there's less fines or anything that can be transmitted or transported. It's actually kind of it's a nice material for this application. And if I called it a crushed stone, I apologize, but it is a crushed concrete material.
Okay, and in terms of concrete, you're talking cement, not bituminous?
Correct. Oh, absolutely, yeah, correct. Yeah. It's not tailings, it's not millings, which
Right.
is another term that sometimes, this is a concrete.
Portland cement concrete.
Now, I'm just curious, in terms of the site, does this trigger anything under the multi-sector general permit for vehicle warehousing, or is there any other restrictions that might? Does not.
Not quite at that level.
Okay.
And actually, I won't say not quite at it, we're fairly under the, I don't know the limit right off the top of my head, but I know we don't trigger that. There's no bump.
And just to be clear, the activities that would happen on site, it's just storage, we're not maintaining, washing, things of that nature?
I mean, he's gonna have a little fluff and buff type of thing when somebody wants to buy the vehicle, but there'd be no heavy service or anything like that.
But that would take place up here anyway,
Yeah,
right?
right there.
Somewhere in between there.
Where does that pavement in the rear, I can't see I'm assuming it all slopes to the back, the whole site goes that way,
It kind
okay?
of goes, and then around this area, it kind of starts to go this way. Now, whether we got exactly enough shots, or we had approved that, or
Right.
just maybe sheets off here, but again, we would try to be cognizant of that, where we try to put this filter strip for this vegetated area back to add as a little bit. We're trying to better that area, I know it's part of the regulations, and saying, by removing some of this material and allowing that sheet flow chance to filter before it reaches any of the resource areas.
What is in that lower building right now, and what's your plan to do on that?
Service my cars,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. What's there now?
I have 2 guys. I do some small jobs on my cars only. I don't take any clients
Okay,
because I have a car dealership on the street already.
okay. Huh?
I have a couple of comments.
Sure, go ahead.
The topo that's there, that's fairly recent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just done, within the year.
And at least what I could read in the application is you're not proposing to alter the flood zone, but you're within that area, correct?
Right.
Okay. Any reason at the conclusion of the project, just to verify that we could get an as-built, just to show that once things have been graded, there aren't any concerns there?
I think that'd be a fair condition. We didn't really want to get into a heavy, filling, compensating type of thing where,
Right.
really, it's a flatter area. He can certainly live with that topography, so, we'll go out and you can confirm that.
Any other commission members' comments, questions? I'll open it up to the public. Yes, sir.
I'm George Schroeder. I live at 274 Pleasant Street, but I have the abutting property at 18 Albert Drive. So my property abuts a significant part of the south side. That lower end where the heavy green is,
Is that?
that's wetland.
Is you talking to the property to the right or in the middle here?
Down in the corner.
On the south side, right there.
That's your property, okay?
That's, so, that's wetland. And I mentioned before at one of the hearings that that property has a lot of history. So the previous owner, who was a contractor, raised the level by, at time, it's down now, but it was up about this high next to my property. And that changed the direction of everything. It has settled down now to about maybe 2 to 3 feet. And so I'm concerned about where the water is going to go. Where is the water going to flow? There will be runoff.
Absolutely. And we're not, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
We're not proposing to change any of the grades. So where the water runs now,
Yeah, but you were saying you're going to go several inches, maybe 4 inches or more. And
we would take the 4 inches down and then fill back 4 inches with the crushed concrete that we spoke about. And so the goal here is to not to change any, again, save for the two, what we'll call ramp areas here, that the goal is to not change any of the contours or any of the drainage patterns at all to the rear of the property. And so where the water runs now, the water will run when we're
because
back.
that water does come into that whole wetland area. The primary part of it is on your property of the wetland. And as I said before, there used to be a brook that went through where it's all covered over now. And that increased the size of the wetland, made it a swamp. You can't walk through there now. But, so that's a major concern. Another concern was a year ago, the snow plowing was not so good. Everything was pushed right over where I live, into my fence and all. He fixed my fence, and this year they did plow in different directions, which I appreciate. But one of those trailers that was in the center is right along my fence line.
I can move it, no problem.
And it needs to be moved
I'll move it.
away from there. And another thing, it's very easy for styrofoam cups and all kinds of trash to blow that way, because it's downhill. Blows that way, and a lot of it comes up against my fence and into that wetland area. And it looks like a city dump.
I could clean it up all, but it doesn't come from me.
Yeah, I know, it's coming from somewhere, and it's blowing in there. So that it accumulates a lot of stuff. Now, Peter Lanza is very familiar with that area. His brother used to be in that house that is closer to you, abuts you up on above there. And there were major issues with the Conservation Commission when he was on Sunday mornings filling in down there. And but
No, I'm not parking any cars on that, where he filled in. Where he filled in is way in the back. It's where that green.
Matter of fact, we're going to
Yeah,
restore
yeah,
some
that,
of
he
this area.
filled over that large spot there. He filled in, the previous owner, filled in, closed up the waterway that went into the brook behind. So everything that runs off from my property, which is sloped downhill, that water goes right down into that, plus some that comes across. And, you know, we may end up with a vernal pool, who knows? But those are concerns of mine.
That's 10 years.
And then there's one other concern, the entrance from Central Street into that
Yeah, Albert.
that driveway there. I don't know how it could be
I'm gonna put a
corrected.
mirror. I'm gonna put a mirror, a sign.
Something
and it
has
would
to be done.
An
'Cause
entrance and an exit. It's not
it's
gonna
extremely dangerous because his driveway actually comes across Albert Drive. And but something has to be
be.
done
Yeah,
too.
no, I'm gonna put an entrance
to make
from
it
that side and
safer.
an exit from the other side. I already have everything planned. Not to cause any danger to the public.
Part of the ZBA, I apologize,
Okay, finish up.
part of the ZBA was to kind of make it a, you know, an entrance and an exit, to try to help and alleviate some of that, some of
Yeah, I
that
know they
traffic.
talked about using that other
Yeah, for
driveway as
the
an
exit.
entrance.
As an entrance and 0 Albert for an exit.
That
Because you
would
can't
be
see.
better.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna
Again,
do.
Because this way you could at least see what's coming.
Yes.
And when I leave Albert Drive, I can see you coming. 'Cause
Yeah.
you cannot see
Yeah,
anything
when you
on,
cross through.
as you know, you can't see onto Central Street at all.
As you know, we kind of use some of these same plans for the multiple boards or in front of them, so there is a plan in the plan set that shows some of that signage, and color that one up for tonight.
Now, the abutter mentioned wetland. Is that official wetland or is that just a wet area?
I don't know if he was talking about something that happened historically,
Okay.
you know, when we went out there and walked it.
It's
or
wetland.
whatnot, They didn't see it, didn't flag it as wetland, so.
So this has been
Yeah.
flagged by, well, you're just looking at the riverfront in that area?
Correct, I mean, we went and flagged this or went and walked that topography, but we did not see any wetlands back here.
A wetland scientist was back there?
I believe he was, yeah, I can confirm that.
Okay.
Well, 10 years ago maybe. I need to do it, I think.
That's the,
Yeah, that was all filled in.
Yeah, 10 years
10,
ago.
12 years ago.
Yeah. But it's not wetland anymore, so.
Hmm.
Just to clarify, the only resource area you're showing is riverfront on the plan?
So it
Floodplain.
shows.
I'm sorry?
Floodplain.
And floodplain, yeah, riverfront and floodplain and bank, I presume, from the, yeah. You're not showing the BVW?
Well, the BVW, I mean, again, there's a fairly steep banking here, so the BVW is gonna be at the bottom of the, you know, bottom of the bank here. And so we weren't on that area, I'm sure they flagged it and showed it, but I do not show the 100-foot buffers, I like to add that to the plan.
I'm just looking at the GIS overlay, and usually if it's wet on GIS, it's wet. So they're showing some BVW that comes pretty close to, well, it's on this gentleman's property here at 18 Albert, and it would throw a buffer zone at a minimum onto
That back corner.
the work you're showing.
Yeah.
And there's additional BVW behind that. It kind of starts near that corner, heads to the,
Which corner do you
where's your
want?
north arrow?
What the hell is this one?
Okay, so it kind of heads to the south, wraps around, and then heads north again.
Here?
Yeah, something like that. And I personally haven't seen the property, so I don't know what's there or not. But again, usually when it shows up on GIS, it's wet, if not more wet. So maybe we
I
should
think
see it.
take a walk,
Yeah,
yeah.
Again, the limit, just so the limit of the work is actually located the gravel. If there is a buffer zone issue over here, we could take a walk, we'll grab it, we can add that to the plan. No, the limit of the work.
Yeah,
is to
I
peel back
don't
that gravel area, so.
think, you're definitely not gonna be in the wetland, but you might be in the buffer zone with some of your grading, so.
We're not in the wetland. I'm not parking cars in the wetland.
No, but I'm saying you might be doing some replication in the buffer zone, which is our jurisdiction, so we definitely wanna make sure that it's covered and done correctly, so, you know.
And
You can ask a question, yes,
I
sir.
have one other question. where the surface has been raised and my fence is in. I kept my fence in when we had it put up, and that's where all the stuff is accumulating, and that's where all the snow had gone before. Is the gravel or the cement, crushed cement, going to come down into that, up against the fence, or will you stay back a distance?
There's still a portion of your fence.
Like
there.
put a
I
curb
know
up
it's a-
there or something?
I know you can't see it from over there, but there was a portion of that fence, and so, at least on this corner here, where we show the green, we're actually peeling that gravel back. And when I tell you we're gonna peel the gravel back, we're not gonna replace that area with that crushed concrete, we're gonna replace that with loam and seed. And so we're gonna revegetate that area. And on the plan set, when we're in front of the planning board on Monday, we do show kind of a vegetative screen, or not just the loam and seed, but kind of a green screen along these properties here to try to, provide at least a little bit of a benefit to some of the neighbors. So to answer your question, no, that concrete isn't gonna be back in that area. We're actually gonna pull it a little further away than that gravel edge is now.
And when you say green screen, shrubbery?
Shrubbery,
or just-
arborvitae's, a white
Okay.
pine, some type of evergreen screen, again, part of the ZBA process that we added to that plan. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You had a question?
I had a question for the gentleman that just spoke. Sir, this swamp that you mentioned that it was a swamp, a brook had been filled in, it was a swamp back there.
Well, it's wetland.
Is it standing water? If we were to go out there tomorrow
Well,
and
it's
look at
tall,
it,
it's tall grass. If you go out there tomorrow, you may still see some water there, but you're not gonna be able to walk through it.
Right.
You'll be up to your knees in
so I should bring hip boots.
in the stuff. You can go through my property if you want,
Thank you.
but it is built up
Mhm.
as it circles around to where the larger green spot is there. So he's really not in the wetland, are you?
No.
No, he's not, but it's right there.
Okay. Anybody else? You all set?
I'm all set.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak on this notice of intent? Second time and last time. We're going to leave the public hearing open. I think the commission would like to take a walk out there, especially with this kind of new wetland.
We'll verify it as well.
We do have some site walks scheduled before our next meeting, so we're going to try and fit you in before our next meeting.
Is that something you guys want a guided tour? Do you guys typically just show up when you can show up?
That is really up to you guys. If you have no problem, we can go as a group, or if you have no problem, we can kind of go as.
No, that's nobody is there, only my employee. I have two guys that are there.
All right. 'Cause
Every day the gate is open.
normally, if someone shows up, we usually try to ask.
No, tell them I'm from the city. They're not.
All right. So
Well,
we'll.
whatever expedite things, I mean, again, if
All
it would help, let us
Do
know,
you-
we can have somebody out there to meet you.
Do you have does Marco have your contact info?
Yeah,
or-
yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And
I
also-
appreciate it if I can be notified whenever that takes place, so that we're looking at the same thing.
All I can say is we can try. We can try without a conservation agent. We're gonna try to communicate as best we can, but
Give
but
them
yeah.
a
So.
number or an email. You should give them a number or an email.
Yeah,
George.
before you leave, you
Yeah.
can get us a phone number, email
I can give
address,
it to you now.
something. Not on camera, it's fine. You can give it to our
Oh,
secretary
you
for
can
the
always shut
moment.
it off.
And that would be fine, so. If that's okay with you, we'll continue to our next meeting and
That's fine.
do a site walk and,
Yeah, so again, like I mentioned, that we're in front of the planning board, I think they open the hearing on Monday.
this past Monday?
No, no.
Oh, this coming Monday,
Yeah.
okay.
So we'll be collecting any of the information that they want to see. It's we always try to maybe do one set of revisions, to see what this commission would want and anybody else, and so that's what the goal would be to try to take care of anybody's concerns, or a set of revisions or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I just think with the kind of with the news of the wetland, I think that's,
No, and we'll go and confirm it. as well.
definitely want to take a look at that.
I would adjust that detail on the concrete, and also if you can get a spec for us from the processing facility.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. All right, so we'll be in touch for a site walk, or, like I said, we might just kind of go individually.
Again, whatever makes it easier on you guys, so
Okay,
I appreciate your time.
thank you.
In the next meeting, is it the 13th?
The third, March 13th is our next scheduled meeting, so. All right.
Great, have a good night. Appreciate
you.
your time.
Moving on to our next hearing, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended. There will be a public hearing to consider request for amended order of conditions by Backlot Realty Trust regarding proposed changes to a site plan previously approved under DEP file number 199-1056, address 152 Hamilton Street, map 238, lot 5. Someone represent the applicant, please.
I am. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Patrick McCarty of McCarty Engineering here representing the applicant. If I may suggest, could we open the next two so we can discuss them concurrently?
Sorry, I should turn the page over. Yes, we can do. We will open up all three.
Okay, thank you.
We will also open up for a minute order of conditions, DEP file number 199-1058. Address is 156 Hamilton Street, lot 238, lot 1-2. And we'll also open up for amended order of conditions, DEP 199-1057, address 162 Hamilton Street, map 238, lot 1-1.
Great. Thank you very much again. For the record, Patrick McCarty, McCarty Engineering. Here requesting an amendment to the existing order of conditions for the 3 parcels on Hamilton Street. Just to refresh everybody's memory, Hamilton Street is here along the top of the page. Landis Lane goes up. The famous dome is right here. So the 3 projects is JCN Properties, which is the new Coakley Family Dental, which is the former Redline Wall Systems building. It's an existing 2,500 square foot building with a proposed 2,000 square foot addition and rebuilding and extension of the parking area. 156 Hamilton Street, which is the new Hamilton LLC, which is the law office of Attorney David Rochford. And his project involved the construction of a 3,000 square foot addition and 6 additional parking stalls. And then Backlot Realty Trust is the Doors Unlimited building out in the rear. And we had proposed a 870 square foot loading pod addition to the front of the building with some regrading and a retaining wall and other improvements at the front of the building. So we had filed 3 site plan approval requests to the planning board, 3 floodplain special permits, and 3 notice of intents. 1 for each project, all referencing the same set of plans because these 3 properties are tied together by the 100-year floodplain. As we discussed back at our original hearings, the 100-year floodplain originally mapped for this area was elevation 328, which corresponded to the windowsills of the Redline Wall System building. So that building was constructed under the flood-safe, flood-proof construction, so I have a 13-inch slab so it doesn't float in the event of a 100-year floodplain, all that fun stuff. That floodplain elevation was based off of the existence of the Mead Paper Dam next to Baker Cadillac, which I explained is no longer there, and the floodplain dropped, which brought us lower at the Route 13 bridge and dropped the whole floodplain down to what's now mapped at 322, which still doesn't make an ounce of sense to me, which because it means that Searstown's underwater if we have a flood at 322, but that's the line we're all stuck with. So, moving on, Coakley's project, no change. It's going to stay exactly as it is. The building's actually, the foundation's poured, this is under construction, the existing building's gutted. We're moving along with that. Rochford's still in the designing phase with his architect on what the internal part of the building will look like, but the addition and the parking, no change. The addition to the door shop that we had proposed, 870 square feet, it solved one problem of getting the fork truck guy out of the rain and snow because the existing loading dock is here. And it's just an old cinder block wall with pavement to the building, so to get a delivery in the winter or the rain, he's gonna drive the fork truck outside to here where the tractor trailer would be backed up, unload that and drive product into the building. So it solved that problem, but this faint line here is a power company easement. It's a 60-foot power easement from there to there. There's poles that go through. And so, it solved that problem, but it really isn't functional, and it's actually kind of an expensive little addition to build. So since we've submitted this, the owners have rethought the addition, and they have a new proposal. Before I show you that, I just want to refresh everybody's memory about this graphic that we provided for the original filing. The green represented areas of floodplain being filled, and the red represented the area of floodplain being compensated, which was grading down from the addition and regrading the flat lawn area that exists behind these two buildings that are right out of the front of Hamilton Street. So here's the new proposal. As you can see, no change at all to the Coakley. Same addition, same parking lot, same retaining wall, same everything. Roachford, same addition, same 6 parking spaces, same sidewalk, same everything. But you'll notice that the addition is gone from the front of the building, and we're proposing a larger addition out of the rear of the building. This whole white area is paved. I didn't color it because I wanted to differentiate between what's proposed paving and what's existing paving. So the whole Coakley lot gets repaved, but it's actually currently paved to here, so we're adding this rectangle pavement. The whole Roachford lot here is paved, as is the access drive in, and that 6 spaces are still the same proposal. But all this is existing pavement, and the existing pavement line actually comes right down here, follows the property line all the way to the back, and it kind of squiggles its way over here, and it comes through the green and around to there's a shed structure there now. So by moving the addition to the back, we can just take a saw and cut a clean line in the pavement, which you can see that underneath the green is the existing loading dock. We can cut a clean line here and still regrade this area to create the compensatory storage that we need for these. We're able to saw cut a new line here because this was way wider than it needed to be. It was kind of like a no man's land. I don't know. We left a 35-foot driveway, so we were probably pushing a 55-foot wide driveway. So we've cut this back so that this whole area that's paved can now be loam and seeded with all these trees planted to really kind of beautify the entrance to the Doors Unlimited. This area that's compacted gravel now, it's they use it for vehicle storage, for metal stud storage. There's all kinds of storage out here. So it's compacted gravel. We're proposing to pave that so that the truck that comes in can nose up into this area and back up to the loading docks proposed here at the addition. And then we're saw cutting the edge of this pavement straight across. You can see we're gaining back this wedge here that can all be loomed and seeded. There's a lean-to shed type structure here in the back that's getting demolished, and that's just getting paved to square up. There's an existing drive-in door at the building. So we really think this actually resulted in a lot better plan. The addition's no longer in the buffer zone. We're still able to pull this back and regrade and pretty up this area that, wonky loading dock goes away that only has a chain that prevents somebody from driving off of it. You get to cut all this back and revegetate this whole area that's paved, and then getting rid of this old kind of ramshackle shed and just really beautifying this area quite a bit more than the original plan. The addition, has grown. It was 870 in the front, but it's 3,000 in the rear, but it's now out of the buffer zone where it was partially in the buffer zone. And I think the biggest comparison is we recreated the graphic, and I'll hold them side by side. Same green, a little bit different shaped red because of just the regrading without the addition to grade again. So really the difference is 280 square feet of floodplain that's now impacted, that wasn't previously impacted. Although it's a gravel, it's not vegetated now, it's vehicle traffic all over it. So we're talking a real minor change, which is why we felt that it would be adequate to request an amendment to these 3 existing orders to allow the project to move forward. So we're hoping that the commission agrees with that and would vote favorably.
I do have one question.
Sure.
I noticed the red shaded area on your new plan.
Yeah?
Is the square footage, the compensatory,
Okay,
the
so,
I guess, same or different, or?
okay, so compensatory storage is foot by foot, right? So it's a volume.
Right.
So if you look at the grading sheet on sheet 3, we did a table, just like, we have the same table on the original set that showed the volume. And it shows that we're creating an elevation 322, an excess of 233 cubic feet. At 321, we're creating an excess of 2,197 cubic feet. And at 320 and a half, we're putting back exactly what we're impacting. So at the lowest elevation, we're matching exactly foot by foot. At the next elevation, half a foot up, we're creating, call it 2,200 cubic feet of additional flood storage. And then a foot above that, an additional 233. But just to kind of forget the volume piece of it and just look at square footage of floodplain impact, that's more relatable than trying to think in the 3-dimensional volume of it. The fill area before was 7,970, and now it's 8,249. So it's 279 square feet of additional floodplain impact.
Right.
But the volume's mitigated. And then the area, actually the compensating area on a footprint area has gone down because we're able to grade differently without the addition in there. So that's where it gets a little confusing, but I was just trying to convey the difference between the green areas and the red areas. But the important piece, as far as floodplain is concerned, is this table that says at each elevation we're matching what we're filling or creating additional.
Okay.
And I can't say it enough times, in the grand scheme of things, I think it's all
Well, it all
craziness.
doesn't matter, but I don't want to sign off on anything that's gonna
Yep.
ever come back to bite us.
No.
You know? If we have a
So
flood,
that's-
we got bigger issues, so. No, I just noticed the area had changed, so I was just trying to
Yeah,
figure out.
it's
you
just
know.
because of the way we could grade without the addition.
Okay.
So this, see, this kind of goes around, and where it goes straight across now, and the grading at the paving's a little different.
Now, I remember originally, there was an easement, because that needed to be done first. Wasn't there on this?
There is, yep, the same easement lines on the plan.
So that hasn't changed?
The shape of it's changed
The
to
shape
match
of it's
this new
changed.
shape.
Okay.
So it would need to be rewritten?
No, it just needs to reference the new plan.
Okay, just
Yeah.
reference.
Because that just said that property gives access, if I remember correctly,
It says that either one of these has the right to do this.
to do that. Okay.
And, we're gonna end up doing it, even before this gets built, because we've obviously started the Copley project.
Right. Okay. Any other commission members' questions?
Have the other owners, I assume they're different owners, been notified of this as well, or you wanted to come to us first for the easement issue?
Oh, no, I'm representing all 3
All 3.
owners. Yep. So I'm the design builder of this entire project, so we're designing it, we're self-performing the site work, we're building the building. For this one, we'll do the site work, we'll do the engineering and site work, and for this one, we'll do the engineering, site work, and foundation, and then turn it over to them. So we're the designer of all 3 and represent all 3 here, and all 3 applicants are listed, which is why we did this, just because we knew the timing would be different. If we had done one set of plans in one order of conditions, and then we get into partial releases and the mess, and that's why we've separated into one set of plans with 6 different permit applications, 1 here and 2 with the planning board for each site.
Any other questions? Did you get on this?
Just, so there was an addition that's gone away on this one, is that what?
No, no change at all,
Oh, no change, okay,
no change at all, and then
Okay.
this addition went away
yeah,
and has become the addition of the back.
okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
Just one last question.
Sure.
Because the loading dock is now on the back,
Mhm.
is there enough room? On what size trucks do you?
Yeah, that's
originally
why we,
put in?
that's why we added this, so that this area here, so now we've got 120 feet from the building. So a truck can come in, nose in, back up, and then pull out.
All right.
So it's actually a lot better, because to try to get to this dock was a little bit of an awkward movement.
Okay. All right, I'll open it to the audience. Anybody in the audience like to speak on this notice of intent? Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question, Dale Feckley, 70 Eastern Avenue. I just want to know, and can I address
Yes.
Pat? What kind of business is in the back, Pat? Did I miss it?
That's Doors Unlimited, they're a commercial door shop.
Okay, so they're an existing business within the city of Leominster?
Oh yeah, they've been here 35 years, they used to be over on Middle Street,
Okay,
and then they moved to what's now High Country Workwear,
I see.
and then they moved here maybe 7 years ago.
Okay. Because
Yeah,
they're in
so-
the back, you don't see them.
Yeah, no, so
Right.
this is an existing business, with long history in Leominster. Attorney Roachford built his building probably 3 years ago, and he's
Right.
looking to expand.
Yep.
And then Dr. Coakley is moving from Fitchburg, he's at the lights at Electric Ave in South Street.
Yes,
And he's outgrown his location, so he purchased the Red Line Wall Systems building
right.
and is adding on the back.
Good, and that's great for
So
economic,
it's, you know, from.
economic development in
Great,
the
yeah,
city of Leominster.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor.
Anybody else in the audience like to speak on this notice of intent? Third time? Any other questions or comments? All right, any problems with me closing the hearing? All right, I declare the public hearing closed. Yes, yes, for all three. I should say notice of intents. Do I have a motion to either, this is for an amended order, correct?
Yes.
Is that's what you're asking for? Yes, amended order. Do I have a motion to issue an amended order or something different?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we issue an amended order of conditions for 152 Hamilton Street, DEP file number 199-1056, with the same special conditions as in the original order, referencing the new project plan set.
Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we issue an amended order of conditions for 156 Hamilton Street, DEP file number 199-1058, with the same special conditions in the original order, and add in the new project plan set for reference.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
And Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we issue an amended order of conditions for 162 Hamilton Street, DEP file number 199-1057, with the same special conditions in the existing order, referencing the revised plan set.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, sir.
Great, thank you all very much.
Make it pretty.
I'm working on it, it's coming together.
All right, moving on to our next hearing. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, there will be a public hearing to consider a notice of intent by 375 Harvard Realty LLC regarding the proposed installation of a sewer line, stormwater management structure, and site paving. Wetland resource area altercation and replication is proposed. Address is 375 Harvard Street, map 370, lot 19. We have somebody representing the applicant.
My name is Anthony Cleves with Whitman and Biggs Associates, here on behalf of 375 Harvard Realty. Copies of the certified.
Thank you.
I believe the commission is probably pretty familiar with the property. I believe it's been on your agenda for quite some time. There's been various representatives here to discuss the project. So we're now here before the commission for a notice of intent to pick up on the work that had been done at the property, as well as kind of completing some of the stormwater improvements and sewer improvements and so on. I believe you may have seen this plan last time. This is the existing conditions of the site as it is today. We went out and as-built it, what existed out there, but also kept on the previous wetland delineation line that had been part of the project that was approved years ago. And as I think you probably recall, the order of conditions for that previous permit had expired. Some of the work had taken place, not all of it. But just to kind of refamiliarize yourselves. Existing building, Harvard Street is up in here, Orchard Hill Park is kind of way up here to the side to the right. You come up and around, you come down White Street, Ridgewood Drive, residential neighborhood over in here. They have parking areas in the front, pavement that comes around the side to the rear entrance. And then they've expanded that area to provide a connection to the existing parking lot in the rear of the building, in this area and in here. Wetlands down on this side. Existing septic systems, one here and one here. Existing septic tanks in that location. So to color it a little bit to make it a little easier to see what's going on. So basically, existing, it's gravel now area. Ultimately, pave it like we had planned on doing years ago. Provide this connection between the two parking lots. And a similar stormwater scenario as was previously approved. Stormwater basin in this area here. A network of collection and pipe and manhole network to collect the stormwater and route it to the stormwater basin. Some additions from what was approved previously, where instead of just standard catch basins, this catch basin, the new catch basin here, new catch basin here, with water quality inlets. Try and improve the water quality more before it gets to the stormwater basin. Also, this existing stormwater network here, a series of catch basins and manholes that ultimately discharge out to the end of the property here. So as another means to try and improve existing stormwater on the site, we're proposing to drop in a water quality unit on that existing line as well to help treat some of the existing developed areas. To again, try and improve some of the water quality for that. Everything comes to the stormwater basin, and then outlet structure discharged to basically where the stormwater is going now. As was mentioned, there's two existing septic systems for the property. It's currently on septic, so the intent is to bring in a new sewer line off of the sewer at the corner of White Street and Ridgewood Drive, extend that into the project, picking up the existing sewer connections out of the building, and then we'd be going to abandon those existing septic systems. As was mentioned, as part of this work, as was proposed years ago, this finger of wetlands, probably because it's associated with where the leach field is, the septic system. So wetland filling here, wetland filling in this area here, and then replicating it closer to where really the main wetlands are. Probably a lot of this wetland is due to the leach area of the septic system. So replicating it kind of down in this area, do us a little regrading, better chance that that wetland area would actually take for that. That's a brief overview. If you have any questions.
Is that the current wetland line right now?
Yeah, so this wetland line, this green line here, comes up and around. Like this. That was the wetlands that were delineated back in 2005 when the project was originally approved. And then work had been done since then that filled this in, which was the plan, and then some filling in here. So we can't delineate that now, but we wanted to show it as because we had it located back then, so we could show it as it is there. Years and years ago, I came across some older plans, some work that our company had done back in '97 or so. The wetland line did this. just came straight across. Probably the sewer for the leach area was probably going right into the ground, and as years went on, the sewer system probably isn't getting into the ground like it should be, and it's probably breaking out a little bit, which then caused that area to be considered, at the time in 2005, to be considered wetlands. But you know, historically, the wetland line was right on the property line. This wasn't wetlands, as, I mean, there's septic systems there. But that was the way it had been reviewed and approved in 2005, so to stay consistent with what the previous commissions had reviewed and accepted. We want to stay with that consistency for that.
Commission members?
Sir? Is there a plan to remove any of the materials that constitute the filling of the wetlands?
Nope. So these are considered permanent fillings. So this area here in orange, this area here in orange, and replicating that area that's filled. More so where the main actual wetland is down in here. These areas, you know, again, probably more due to the septic system. And once that septic system is tied in, you're not going to have much water promoting that wetland to even survive. So that's why I think years ago we looked at doing wetland replication up tight in here. You know, looking at that further, we really want to put it in a spot that's going to stay as a wetland. So that's why we kind of moved it down in this area, closer to where the main fed wetlands are.
So you intend to leave the materials that have been dumped in there?
Yes, that was previously approved. That was always part of the project, was to create a driveway connection between these two here. In order to do that, have to fill in this area here, the wetland finger that comes up to where it's an existing septic system. And this is not a new area by any means. This was developed as part of ESP Lock. There's a septic system here, there's a septic system here. So yes, it was always the intent to do that, absolutely.
And you're proposing to replicate wetlands in an area that are wetlands?
That are more adjacent to the historically naturally occurring wetlands. So this is not a wetland here, but we're going to regrade it and plant wetland vegetation so that it becomes a wetland, consistent with this wetland here and this wetland here. If we were to propose a wetland up in here, I would speculate that over time it would not be a wetland anymore, because it historically wasn't a wetland. It was really being fed from the septic system, the leach field.
So environmentally, we just look away from everything that's been dumped in there, and we're going to create a wetlands after you regrade that you think will be a successful replication, and everything's good. That's what you're telling me.
No, not even close to that. I don't understand where you're coming with that.
I don't understand, because the last time I was on this site, and I looked over that embankment,
Yeah.
there were so many materials in there that quote-unquote shouldn't be there. I mean, bricks, cinder block, basketball hoops, it looked like a dump
I
site.
didn't see any of
Well, I
that.
did. I stood on the site and looked at it. DEP came out and concurred with it.
Okay,
And so now you're gonna say to me, it's all right, we're gonna leave everything there and pretend it never happened. We're gonna replicate a wetland area after you regrade and make it a wetland area. I don't get it.
I wasn't aware of that type of stuff. I thought you were referring to fill put in to create a driveway, which we need to do that. If there's other materials, I wasn't aware of a basketball hoop in the wetland. Yes, we'll take a basketball hoop out of the wetland, absolutely. When I walked the site, like I wasn't on the sidewalk with the commission to see those specific materials.
I was there.
Yeah, well, let's take basketball hoops out of the wetlands if they're there, absolutely. And if you want to put a note to say, take this basketball hoop out of the wetland, well, I'll go find it and I'll put that note on the
Well, the
plan.
basketball hoop was actually way over on the upper part of this.
Okay.
I mean, the entire area was a dump site the first time I went.
Yes, not just a basketball.
Sure, I mean, so it's, you know, absolutely, I mean, we can absolutely add notes to the plan, conditions to the project, you know, for sure. And my focus here was providing a stormwater system previous to what was approved to handle the increase in developed area, pervious surface, have cleaner water, and then also have the sewer system. So if there are other areas up in here, absolutely, yeah, I mean, it's, if there's...
Anthony, one of the concerns I have, and I looked at all the aerial photography of this site, and I paced off from the septic tank which at one point was the end of the slope. And it was 45 feet from that tank to the new end of the slope. So I'm wondering, I know what I saw, but I know what I couldn't see in the 45 feet of fill, and I'm just wondering what's in there. I mean, no one knows unless you dig in there to find out, and that might cause more harm than good. But to come in here and say, we're just gonna leave everything and that's fine.
But I don't think, I'm not saying that. This would be just like the project was proposed before. This area was to be filled in to create a connection between this parking lot and that parking lot. Like you would do any other project, with to bring in fill to do that. I didn't see the fill they put in there. Very rarely do we see, we're on site to monitor any of that on any project. So I don't know what was put in there. My presumption would be, you know, fill appropriate to drive machines on, because if not, it's gonna settle and you're gonna have a problem. But I don't know, I wasn't there either, so I don't know what was put
All I
there.
could see was a lot of construction debris. I mean, it was a dump.
When was that, Paul?
It was when I first came on the commission, so that'd be January 2016.
2 years ago.
And then we had the enforcement order that went on for
Correct.
over a year, and no one even came in to talk to us. And then all of a sudden we have this.
I know there was another site walk, again, I wasn't involved, I understand, I think DEP came out,
Yeah.
Marco was out there, I'm not sure if any of the commission members
I was there.
were there too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how long ago that was. But sure, I mean, so it's, yeah, I mean, if there, like, I wasn't familiar with areas of previous dumping that have occurred, and if there is some, absolutely, I think, yeah, those should be remediated as well. Again, you know, something we want to do cautiously, like you were kind of alluding to, we don't want to create more of an issue. You know, but if the commission so feels fit to continue to move forward, you know, maybe a condition would be appropriate to do that, to by hand or small machine, you know, get in and remove foreign debris from wetland areas. You know, I you know, hate, you don't want to create a road to get in there to take it out, but
Right.
you're absolutely right. If that, I'm sorry, I apologize. I wasn't aware of that. But absolutely, that makes perfect sense to remediate that, for sure, yeah.
Questions? I guess. Go ahead.
I'd like to see it before.
Yeah, I definitely want to see it. This has kind of been an ongoing issue. It's been a long time since I've been there. I do want to say that there's a lot of questions of what that fill is. And I would agree with Mr. Colombo that if we're going to do this, let's do it right. And it may mean removing some of that material and replacing it with better, more suitable material, especially up against that wetland.
So you're talking, you know, that filling, those fill areas?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about grading and building a retention basin, and you're over there doing some stuff.
Yeah, so
as part of
this hasn't been in yet, which is good.
Correct.
So,
well, I'm saying all that green work
yeah.
You're proposing doing,
yeah.
and cleaning and fixing, you're going to be in there working.
Yeah, the sidewalks is perfect.
You know?
It's great to see. Now the snow's kind of gone.
I definitely would like to see the site so we can really get a sense of what it looks like and what's up against that.
And if I can, I meant to add it during my presentation. Just, we talked to DEP today. They haven't issued a file number yet. They were trying to get one out today, but they said they just couldn't get to it. So no file number. I'm sure there'll be comments. So, you know, we did not expect any closeout of this. Fully expect get some DEP comments, site walk. Absolutely makes sense. So, definitely.
Okay. Any other commission members have comments before I open it to the public?
Yeah, so
Yes, sir.
how do you plan on accessing the area for the replication construction?
So you probably end up having to come down this slope here to get down in that area. I mean, it's if the commission allows, I mean, we could very easily drive across this. It shows us wetland, but it's grass. It's a meadow, and we can look at it on the site walk. But you can very easily drive across this because it's just tall grass. It's always been grass because this was an area that was cleared years ago. You know, so there's no trees or anything out here. But, so we'd have to kind of come down this area to access that. I mean, it's a good question.
It's pretty steep, isn't it?
Yep, the final slope would end up being 3-to-1, so you could, like anything, it's construction evolves. This would be the final slope, so temporarily you bench yourself down, create a little access down in there, and then pull yourself back up. But, again, I think it's a great thing to look at for the site walk if the commission felt it may be better, as the construction of this basin is going on, the grades are fine to come along here. Again, I think once you look at that wetland, it's tall grass. But, if there's a preference, we'll try and adhere to that. But to stay out of the delineated wetland from previously, we end up coming down that. You pull these grades out a little bit so you can, with an excavator, you don't need a flat road to get down there. You just pop yourself down, do that, and then pop yourself back out. So it's
For maintenance of the pond, I see you have somewhat of a level area at 412.
Yep.
How wide is that?
That is 6 feet, I believe.
Can we increase that to 10 to meet the stormwater management policy?
If we increase it to 10, we'll push fill closer to the wetlands or reduce the size of the basin. And then we'll lose some of our volume for that. Or so you could steepen the slopes, but we tried to stay to a 3-to-1 slope for that. The access was pretty small basin. We have graded access down here, less than 5-to-1, so you can easily get in. The 6-foot width, you could easily get a machine in and around that with the small nature of the basin. So we increased it. It was 4 feet when it was originally approved, so we increased it to 6 to get a little more. And the previously approved plans had 2-to-1 slopes, and so we brought those to 3-to-1. So that started to reduce the volume of the basin. So we can look at trying to make it wider. We're going to lose capacity, and then we'll have to just make that up somewhere. But we can look at doing that.
And my last question is, I think it's important for us to see the wetland flags in place in the critical areas, particularly as we're looking at how well that replication area is going to work. So if they're not in the field, you should have your surveyor put them, reestablish them before we go out there. And then one other thing now that I think about it, and you'll have to forgive me, we only have a couple things on the agenda and we don't have staff at the moment. So, there seemed to be some housekeeping issues on site when we walked it. I mean, you literally have construction materials, dirt, everything just kind of running down into areas, getting into one of the catch basins. While you're adding a proprietary unit to help treat and take care of some of that, that's really not what it's designed for.
Some silt sacks in the basins until construction's done.
Well, no, we really need to see an O&M plan for post-construction because the site's not being, okay. But what I'm getting at, again, I haven't read through all of it, so if it doesn't address those housekeeping issues, if the O&M's only looking at the stormwater structures and units themselves, just make sure that there's some type of a plan in place so that, there's a lot of bays with different construction materials in there that are left open and you can see the stuff running out as you get heavy rain events, things of that nature. So things like closing those off when not in use or any other type of thing that can be done to the site to keep it clean. I think it goes above and beyond what you normally might do for an O&M just because the site's got a lot of, So just take another visit to that, and if something hasn't been addressed,
We can add it to that.
Yeah, please, thank you.
Yeah.
You'll sit on your notes?
I think
Because
I
have
am.
a
Thank
one-
you very much for waiting. I
one
appreciate
question.
that. I appreciate that.
The existing parking area, can you?
Yep, so
What's-
this is all pavement here.
Right.
Pavement here, pavement.
Where's this, the
Pavement.
catch basins, and explain that to me again, I know you.
So we have
did
a
that, but-
existing catch basin here, 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 here. And that's really it for the existing stormwater, because that's really
Okay.
where the pavement is here. And then, so as part of the stormwater improvements, we're gonna have this connection of impervious surface here. We're gonna add a water quality unit here to capture this water that'll come down. And then there's existing pipes that come out of the building, roof drains, things like that, that we're gonna pick up along the way. And then route this over, pick up this roof drain, pipe that into the stormwater basin. And then over here, there's a roof drain that comes out, and a catch basin here. We're gonna drop in a manhole, pick up this roof drain, convert the outlet of this catch basin, instead of going this way, we're gonna bring it into our stormwater basin.
Okay.
Everything else stays the same. Another water quality unit here to pick up water that comes down this way. I think what really probably happens more often than not is on larger storm events, the water probably doesn't even get into a lot of these catch basins. So then we're gonna put a catch basin here where we can stop it, grab it, bring it to the stormwater basin. And then here, drop in a water quality unit on top of the existing stormwater line, where this last line here that exists, manhole, goes straight out to another manhole, and then dumps out right here to the wetlands. So I'm gonna drop in a water quality unit here, so that all of this existing stormwater will now go through that water quality
So
unit.
all of that parking area doesn't dump onto the roadway or anything like that? It goes into the wetland area after?
Yep, so it all comes here, you know, a little bit here, there's a paved access to the White Street Ridgewood Drive area that's to be gated off. You know, there's a little bit of a break here where the grades now start to go down to Ridgewood Drive, so water in this area gets out to
Right.
Ridgewood Drive as it does now, but pretty much everything else continues right down that way. Yep.
So the only stuff going into the road is just that minor entrance?
Just a little area.
Just that little area?
Yeah, there's actually, they have almost like a little earth berm in here. We can see, this is like a high point where my pen is driving it. So this water comes down into our parking area, and that makes its way out. A little bit in here, again, same thing, we're a little bit higher than White Street here. So this existing area goes down, this grassy area here goes down. But the intent is, there's a berm here, extend that berm to keep the water going where we want it to go.
Into the grassy area now?
Yep, into the stormwater.
So-
Yep, yep.
Okay. Any other commission members have any questions, comments? All right, I'm gonna open it to the public. Anybody here would like to speak on this notice of intent? Yes, ma'am.
You wanna go first?
Yeah, before I explode. Everything he's saying here,
Can you state your name and address, please?
I'm Linda Shoemaker. I live right across from that. I'm on Ridgewood.
Okay.
Okay, so you have White Street,
Ridgewood 301.
and we're right on the corner. So, as you said, it is a dumping area, basically. A construction dumping area. They have so much stuff there. The other day, I even noticed a mattress, which is wonderful. Okay, so we're right here on this street on the corner, right? Right where his breakaway is for the drive? Okay, we're right across from that. So when I look out my windows, I can see, and I've been monitoring this for years, they keep going a little further over, and a little further over, and a little further over.
Filling in.
Filling in.
45 feet.
When we moved in
Are you,
that
you're
neighborhood,
talking towards the green area that they're
There is no
proposing?
green left.
Well, no, that's proposed, what I'm saying,
Okay.
towards that area
you
is
see
what
where
you're
it is
talking.
up front, and they have that drive coming down? There, yes, they just go straight, now, come down to Ridgewood, okay? That corner right there, first of all, somebody filled that all in. They're putting their construction equipment in where, on, what's the street?
White.
No, Harvard.
Oh, Harvard.
Harvard, there's a dog kennel daycare, and then there was EST, the building that's existing. There was a drop there about, what would you say, 20 feet?
Yeah.
Off the road. Right off the road, there was a drop there. They filled all that whole lot in. And that was wetlands. Yes, we've been there for 22 years. I know what it was.
What it used to be.
What it used to be.
Oh, yeah, if I-
This construction company has come in and completely done whatever they choose to do.
You're working there now.
They work at all hours of the night. They're there at 5:30 in the morning, pushing stuff around. Whether they think nobody knows, I mean, it's like, hello. We can see it going on constantly. They have big rigs in there that I'm sure they're not qualified, the drive-in pavement is not qualified to hold those big rigs. I'm talking big rigs that has to be destroying the land underneath. They drop things that, you know, those big metal, I don't even know what they are.
You put them in sewers to prevent.
Just for the, when you dig in the trench, you got that.
They will drop those at probably 5 feet in the air, drop them on that pavement. It sounds like an earthquake, so if it, and it shakes my whole house. So if it's doing this to me, what is it doing to the property over there? And stuff is starting to roll off the side there, right? It's like this far from the road now, these big blue culvert things, there's tons and tons of them. They're so packed in there, they're rolling off the road. And like I said the other day, somebody threw a mattress on top of that. Well, it was no one in our neighborhood that's throwing stuff in there. It's coming from there. They've brought in their junky trailers that they take out on the jobs. They brought that big one in. Then they started piling all this stuff on top of that. So on top of what they're doing to the environment, the view and our property value is like going out the window. Our living room is all glass. I cannot open my shades. That is how disgusting that is. Everybody that comes to visit us goes, oh my God. But if you go up Harvard, it all looks nice and dandy. But if you're on Ridgewood side
White.
and White, forget. It's like, and my son lives in the house right across the street from us. And so there's like, maybe what, 5 houses that go up?
Yeah.
Including yours, or is it 6? 6 including theirs. They're behind me, and then it's us, and then there's a few more houses up. So we all have view to this horrible thing that they're doing. And like I said, and the wetlands are not being taken care of at all. It's just getting, we watched them, we've been over there.
When we moved in,
It
it was all greenery. Now all I see is building. And that wetland goes under my yard. And we ended up with a sinkhole a year ago that the city had to come out because the pipe just gave out. And we had, our driveway was a sinkhole. Now we have a sewer in our driveway because that's all they could do. A sewer manhole.
What's your name and what's your address?
Go ahead, sorry, you got it.
We live on 77 White, which is the last house on White at the bottom of the hill, so obviously
We're the wetlands.
we get the brunt of everything because we're on the bottom of the hill. Over the last few years, the city actually came down and doubled the catch basins on the street just to try to get some of the water out. Since the construction company, I've been in construction all my life, so I know how it works, but since they moved in there, everything's gone down pot. With the wetlands, we've had, last year, the DPW was down, like she was saying, we had a good sized sinkhole in the yard coming, there's a brook or a stream, whatever you want to call it. They used to come on the other side of Harvard, and it runs all the way across the wetlands and then goes under our property, eventually goes out to the Nashua River, okay? So we had a huge sinkhole there, which they had to reroute and put a manhole in our yard, which, it's not the nicest thing in the world. Since the earth's being moved over there, I'm getting water in my basement. Now, coincidentally, I know last year we had a bad winter, but, I've really never had any water problems. And then, what was the third?
We had to put a French drain in.
Yeah, I ended up putting a French drain in there just with some pumps just to get the water to stop.
I could go on and on, but I'm gonna keep it to the three things. Like I said, the sinkhole, we never had a problem until the earth got moved. And the other thing is, my biggest concern is, in early as this Saturday, they're out there with power washers, and they're power washing bobcats, they're power washing the trucks, diesels, they're hauling tar. Where is all that going? On the rainy days, like you said, that water comes right onto White Street and right down the hill into our property. So there's been a lot of that, and you can tell there's, I don't know who's doing it, but there's constant tree cutting going on all over there, from the dog kennel all the way to ESP. There's definitely, you know, the wetlands getting filled in. And as far as I know, I talked to the building department like a year or so ago. Anything that was filled in, as far as they told me, it was supposed to come back out, which nothing has been done.
So now they want to reroute it.
So there's just, you know, it's, I can keep going, but it's not gonna.
You have to see it. You just have to see.
From our side, you have to see exactly.
And that driveway they speak of is two giant green pieces of PVC that are broken, and they have taped up with electrical tape. That's what we look at. That's their driveway. That's how they put a barrier there, I guess.
Well, and on top of that, that barrier is, that driveway, the fire hydrant is right out in front of our house. So that fire hydrant takes care of that property. They have a church there, they have a store there, then they have this construction company there, and I believe they have something else there as well. But if that thing goes up in flame, well, if
Storing fertilizer.
has fertilizer, because there's a landscaping. So that has all that stuff that's running off. And then on top of that, like I said, if you put all this equipment right in front of there, if you have a fire, guess what? I brought this to the attention, you know, I don't know how many times I've called the mayor's office, the environmental office. I've been doing this for years, ever since that construction company went in there. GVC went in there, and then all hell broke loose. It was, you know, it was a factory.
And were we not promised that they would
Barriers.
block that hole, so we didn't see any of that, and that was never done.
So then
it's worse.
if you did do a
they cut
barrier,
down more trees.
it wouldn't be running off to everybody either. You know, you do a barrier that doesn't run off. But now the way it's set, it runs right off, like you said, down. It's made ridges in the roads. The road is all messed up.
Everything is going into the wetlands.
Yeah, and goes down and around.
Upstream.
And there's trash. Like, there's always trash there. It's like, just ridiculous.
Okay.
And it's like, I can't even fathom how that could be environmentally healthy. I mean, I go out, like I said, we've lived there way before that came in. I go out every day, and there's at least this much soot on a marble table I have out. Oh no, because I just did it, and it's on my windowsills. And it's coming from there because it never happened before they came here. And like they said, they're cleaning these vehicles with all this crap and sandblasting. So, you know, I hope y'all can do something, because it's becoming to the point of very frustrating. Like I said, this has been going on now for years.
Like I said, my two big concerns is, now that they're disturbing the wetlands, it's causing problems over in our area as far as water, sinkholes. And number two, I know, it being a plumber, when we have a garage, you have to have a sand and water trap in there to kick grease and oil. Now, if you're power washing diesel trucks in a parking lot, where's that going?
Right into the wetlands.
You know, it's going right into the wetlands.
Oh, the stream.
The thing I think that we're all concerned about, and that whole street is concerned about, is the promises that we've been made. They made these promises to us years ago, and they were told that they had to take out all the material they had put in those areas. Have they not done that, but they've gone further. And like he says, where that comes down around the building, they have to, well, when that was original, there was no driveway around the building.
Yeah.
They created that, so they took more land. You know what I'm saying? That land went down just like this.
The grass literally abutted ESP lock. And when they moved in, now there's a driveway.
that is very high and has a big runoff.
It's 45 feet of fill in there.
Thank you, yes.
That I measured when I paced it off, and that was back in January of 2016.
And it's worse.
Show it, yeah.
The reason
Show
why
it.
I think it has to be worse is because I can see more and more of
Yeah,
them
when
every
everybody's
day
done.
with cutting down trees. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Gary.
Okay, Gary Shoemaker, 301 Ridgewood. Okay, I've lived there for over 20 years with my wife, and I've seen a lot of things happen over there. And back in February 11th, 2016, I talked to Gail Feckley, and she said told her the problems. We had a committee meeting last night, so hence the delay in getting back to you. The Conservation Commission has made a report to the DEP for several reasons, including the fact that a permit for work at this location has expired. Unacceptable fill was put in the wetlands, not to mention that they should not be tampered with. And it may have caused some soil erosion. There should be no further work done at the property at this time, as they were given a cease and desist order by the Conservation Director. It does seem, though, that the DEP will not be viewing the site until spring, hence, since we have had some significant snowfall. So that's it. And there's also, down in the brook, across from his house, there's a pipe that comes down from that area that drains into that brook.
Yeah. It's right
Now,
in
if
front
they
of
touch anything up there, that's probably going to disturb that, I would imagine, because it must go through the parking lot. I'm not sure because you can't see it, but it's quite big. You can go down there and look at that when you take a look at the site.
The wetlands are on both
And that's
sides
been there
of
for
that
years.
building. That's the whole thing. The wetlands are on both sides. Well, the one you can see from the road, they made it look all pretty and fixed that all up nice. But the one that you can't see from the road, out on the main road, is a disaster. And like I said, they keep filling it in a little more, and a little more, and a little more. Until, and then they're gonna say, well, it's all filled in, just like he just
Yeah, they
said.
never did dig any of it out that they were supposed to.
Never. And like I said, I would love to invite people over just to sit on my porch and see exactly what goes on there from day to day. They were in violation for the noise in the environment because they start these big trucks up at 5:30 in the morning,
In the summer.
dropping this heavy equipment out. It's like, 5:30, really? I mean, I would just like everybody just to live in our shoes for 1 week, 1 day.
Okay, anybody else like to speak on this notice of intent? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Gail Feckley, 70 Eastern Avenue, and I also represent Ward 1, and this is in Ward 1. So, obviously, I've been hearing about this since 2016. I actually brought it to Marco's attention, and Marco did get it on the agenda, and so, you've got your expired DEP. And as Mr. Shoemaker indicated, there was the hearing, and the promises made, and DEP wasn't gonna come until, because that was the winter we had all that snow. And then it just kept on going on, and to Marco's credit, he tried the best he could to get this thing, investigated. I've also received complaints from other residents on White Street, especially about the fence that's been mentioned. I did call the building inspector about it. He did go down and talk to them about it. He said they needed to keep it closed, but they didn't need to replace it. So I guess their solution to keeping it closed was that horrible electrical tape. The other complaint that I've had is that there's a banking of shrubs that goes down White Street, and that they very often are overgrown, and White Street's a very narrow road, so they feel that that's dangerous. I did go down to look at them in the fall. I didn't feel as though they were intruding on the road. It looked like they had been recently cut back. But I think that might be a problem that will happen again. Also, the view through that gate is horrible. I don't know, I've only been on city council since 2014, so obviously that was there before. I don't know what planning board or what conservation commission approved that mall to go in there, because that mall does not belong there. I mean, it is a residential area, it is impeding on everybody, it's ruining the wetlands, and Harvard Realty, I don't know who the principals are, I have my suspicions who the principals are, but they have not been good friends to the neighborhood or to Ward 1
Correct.
at
When
all.
ESP Lock, when ESP Lock was in there, they always kept it neat and they were
Yeah.
very considerate of the neighbors. Since it got sold, or whoever took it over, it's just
They
been
made
a
it mixed
nightmare.
use,
Right.
And now it's all different stuff in there.
snuck it in.
When it was ESP at Lock, it was just one big building, and then when ESP left, they broke it up. But in any event, it seems that everybody's tried on the local level to do as much as they possibly could. I don't know what the DEP is doing, but definitely more action has to be taken, and these people need relief. That's it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, I didn't mean to go off the hook. I'm like, my nerves are on the edge of my life. Thanks to them.
Anybody else like to speak on this notice of intent?
We did lose a couple of butters, they left early because it was so long, but I know there was at least 2 other families here earlier, but I don't know.
All right, I'm gonna leave the public hearing open, because we definitely want to do a site walk. So we can look at the existing conditions and maybe do a little history of wetland lines and what has changed, just so we can get a better sense of what was there in the past and what's there now, and try to make sense of this whole project.
When you come down White Street for your walk, and go down to the track, because that's where you will see what we see and what we deal with. You know, if you go on Harvard Street coming in, into that back parking lot, it doesn't look bad at all. They've got it all lined up, so it's like,
All I can tell you is we will walk the entire site.
Thank you.
They'll probably be over there tomorrow morning at 5:30 cleaning it up.
I don't care, that'd be great.
I have pictures, so no matter what they clean.
Anthony, would you like to be present? I'm assuming one of the representatives, yourself or the property owner would like to be there during
Yeah,
the site
or some
walk?
of our office, you know, it's,
Okay.
so I don't know if you schedule it tonight, or let me know what
We're
works.
gonna
for your
have to let
schedule.
you know. We've got a few site walks going, so I'm gonna have to break them up, but,
Let us know. Yeah,
Heard about that.
I think it'd be good, probably beneficial for all of us to have someone from our office.
yeah, I definitely think it would be
there.
beneficial to have an engineer there and kinda, you can
Yeah,
address
just
some
let
of
us
this
know,
stuff.
we'll do what we can to make sure we can try and get someone there.
Okay, perfect.
Do you need some lead time to get the wagon reestablished, or?
I mean, if you plan on going this weekend, we can do what we can to try and get a crew out there. I don't know if we'd be able to do it that soon, but.
Depends how much snow we get Friday too.
Yeah. If it's all rain, maybe.
Right.
If it's snow, it makes it more difficult when there's snow on the ground to see really what's there.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, so it's, if you were thinking this weekend, maybe it's probably good to wait and see what happens with this storm.
Yeah. and we can-
I know, I went out there, you know, doing these plans, when it was snow cover, I was like, you can't really see too
You
much.
can't see a lot with snow cover, and that's why it's,
So, man, that's, when's the next meeting? Couple,
March 13th is our next meeting,
2-3
so,
weeks, so.
so yeah, it'll be, yeah, 2
Yeah.
weeks.
So maybe, I mean, probably this weekend wouldn't be, I don't know if you're planning on this weekend, it probably wouldn't be a great one to do, depending upon the weather, but, you know, anytime after that, I'm sure we could, you know, get the crew out there, but if you just let us know as soon as you know, you know, so we can flag it, you know, hopefully
Okay.
try and flag it somewhat soon before you get out there.
I think that'd be beneficial if we can, but we'll definitely be in touch about, you know,
Is it usually on a weekend, is it sometimes
Uh,
in the afternoons, it can be
yeah,
anytime?
it kind of depends on who's available.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So,
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I've been around long enough to have seen this first, not when it came up, and there were gonna be plantings along here, for privacy, someone, was it up here? I knew there was gonna be plantings.
Part of the planning board, yeah, but we're not, that was part of the, they were gonna put an addition on here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna add parking lot here, we're gonna add parking here, we're gonna add parking here, we're not doing that.
But I know that was a,
70 last year.
you know, before there was gonna be some sort
71,
of
it's
visual
just-
barrier for the neighbors.
So there's gonna be,
Okay, yeah.
there's gonna be a building here, new parking here, new parking here, new parking here, so this was more for the parking.
Okay.
But none of that is,
Yeah.
I think it's, the whole point of why we're here is to trying to fix what's been done.
Yeah.
And not get into what was proposed before the buildings and everything.
Well, no, I just didn't know if the planning
Yeah,
was
no,
gonna be on
there was
this
nothing-
side.
there was nothing proposed on there for the vendor for that. Yeah, good memory. That's a good memory. Well
No,
done.
I'm gonna be getting this.
How long was it?
2005.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which,
More miles.
yeah, 2004, yeah, started in 2005. Which, to me, doesn't sound that long ago. So I still think I'm young, but.
Yes.
13 years.
Nice.
And I am too.
I know, you're in the same boat as me. My God, 2005, that's 13 years ago.
It's a long time. So. All right. If you're willing to continue, we will do that, and we'll set up a site walk. Yeah, if you can have some plans at the site walk, would be
I can
beneficial.
bring a set of plans, yeah, sure.
I'll
My
take it
email's on
for
there.
now. I'll give it to our scribe. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. All right, very good.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank
you.
The next meeting you said was March 13th?
March
That's
13th
an open
will be
meeting?
our next.
We'll get some, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. All
Thank you
right,
very
our
much.
last hearing, and I appreciate everybody hanging in there. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, there'll be a public hearing to consider a notice of intent by Cheryl, I don't want to say her last name, because I don't want to mess it up, regarding the repair and replacement of a septic tank, installation of a pump chamber and forced main pipe, and site grading associated with a subsurface leaching area within a 100-foot buffer zone of a wetland. Address 30 F&L Road, map 291, lots 1 and 8. So represent the applicant.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Chris McKenzie from Whitman and Bingham. It's Green Cows and Butters list. What we're proposing here is, this is F&L Road. I think it's North Street and Summer Street that it comes off of. It's right along the town line. Town line runs right at the back of the property here, so Leominster's on this side, Wittenberg's on that side. F&L Road goes up, as you all probably know, it's blockaded at this point. There's no traffic allowed beyond that point. So this is the last house on the left-hand side. There's an existing 3-bedroom house located here with a driveway accessing off of the road there. There is an existing septic system that the sewer pipe comes out of the house here and goes to a tank here into a leach area right here. The existing system's failed for probably a number of reasons, but most likely the most obvious is its proximity to the groundwater table. There's an existing wetland area located here. There's an existing wetland across the street. So I show a 50-foot buffer and a 100-foot buffer from the wetlands. What we're proposing is a new leach area, which is going to be up here in the backyard, totally out of the buffer zone completely. There's going to be a little bit of grading associated with that system required for the Title V breakout fill. I think I figured about 200 square feet or something like that in this area here. And then there's going to be a force main coming from a pump chamber up to the D-box. Pump chamber is being located here, coming right off of the existing tank. There's really no other place to put that without replumbing the entire house. So there's really no other way to go about that. I could put the pump chamber here and start dealing with an existing system. I could come this way, but there's a water line located here, so I would have to relocate that. And then I would have to pump underneath the driveway and come up around this way, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. So this is really the only location that I can put the pump chamber. I show a silt fence barrier located here, over to the edge of the driveway. This area is slightly lower than the driveway, so any work here shouldn't create any water that's going to come up over the driveway and back. So I ended the silt fence there. We could run it right across to the property corner here if the commission felt it was necessary. But obviously, that's going to be the only access to the property, so it's going to have to get opened and closed on a regular basis. Yeah, so the silt fence runs all the way up to the edge of the buffer zone there. And like I said, some fill, force main. The force main and the pump chamber is probably about a 6 to 8 hour job. They're going to dig the hole, the thing's going to come in, they're going to drop the pump chamber in, they're going to dig a trench, they're going to run a pipe, and bury it all by the end of the day. So most of this work is really going to all be done in a day. The system itself, that's probably going to take closer to a week to do. Access-wise, they're probably gonna have to come in this way as well to get up to that area. She does own some property next door, so it's possible they could come that way, but there really isn't any, there's no real access. It's all just grass and lawn and stuff. So the only access is coming in through the driveway, and then it would only make sense to kind of come through the area anyways. And that about covers all of it. There's really not much to it. In comparison to what all the other things you've been doing.
Any commission members, any questions or comments?
Oh, one thing I did want to mention. This project started, I believe, in 2012.
Yeah, somewhere.
Around 2012. She's made multiple efforts, and Anthony Cleves, that was just here before me, made efforts to try and get her tied into the sewer, and those all failed. So this is kind of the last ditch effort to get this straightened out.
These chambers, like, it's a sealed chamber, so.
Chambers?
Or you were saying like this.
Oh, the pump chamber, it's a 1,000-gallon septic tank.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
But it's just
concrete,
gonna-
sealed,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Questions?
I have just one question. The grading around the SDS, how's that gonna be stabilized?
Title V only requires loam and seed. It's a 3-to-1 slope.
Any chance to hydroseed it? I'm just concerned about the hill that's on.
It really wouldn't be a big deal to hydroseed it. You're looking to get it stabilized a little quicker than
Right. I've seen a lot of these systems wash out before they take.
They're supposed to be a 3-to-1 slope on them, and when they do a 3-to-1 slope, it holds up pretty good. If they go shallower than the 3-to-1 slope is when they have troubles. Yep. 3-to-1's pretty steep, and the guy out there with the machine's eyeing it, so I'm sure they can't always get it exactly right. But yeah, I don't think hydroseed would be a problem. Hope to get it.
Any other questions or comments? Anybody in the audience like to speak on this notice of intent? Second time and final time? Any objections to closing the public hearing? All right, declare the public hearing closed. Do I have any questions or comments or a motion for this project?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we issue an order of conditions for 30 F&L Road with the added special condition that the septic system area be stabilized with hydroseed.
Do I have a second on that motion or something else?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Was there a file number for that?
Yes, I have it in my, it just came in this afternoon. We had to race around to get it issued. Let me get that number for you.
If it's been issued, I'll just look it up. That's fine.
I'll give it to you because I tried to look it up myself before I left the house and I couldn't find it.
The online version wasn't updated yet.
Yeah, it wasn't updated yet, but I did get something from DEP. It is 1991068.
Thank you.
Yeah. I can make no copies.
Okay.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now that our hearings are over, you want to take a 5-minute break? Or you just want to keep?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Let's move on to our regular meeting. Certificates of compliance. Unfortunately, I don't have any information on these. So I'm not sure how we want to, I know some of these were pending some more information, I thought. If I can remember right.
My recollection, Sac Boulevard, we were just waiting for permanent stabilization.
Right. That one I knew.
Sheldon Hill Drive, they were gonna put markers out there.
And the notarized letter.
And the
Right.
notarized letter.
So we don't know if we've gotten that.
We don't know.
Okay.
And then I can discuss, let me just load it up, give me 1 second. So Pleasant Street, looks like there's a solar farm that went through.
Yep. It's way up in the woods.
I've got the wrong document here, so.
I haven't seen it since it's been installed, unfortunately.
You can't really see much. With
No.
the huge fence.
Yeah, but I remember we walked up there before it was installed.
Yeah.
But
So we have the COC request from Beals and Thomas Inc. And I won't go through all of it, but what it basically says, I'll read bullet 5. During the site walk, the applicant's representative reviewed the wetland replication areas with Mr. Mangrazzi. While the work appears to be completed as shown on the approved plans, revegetation of the areas is not complete. However, jute matting has been installed to stabilize soils through the winter months. And it goes on, and they request that they issue a certificate of compliance. So the replication area hasn't been done yet, what I gather from looking at it.
yeah, it sounds like it's at least not vegetated, so
Yeah, so until
I'd rather wait.
until it's done, I would rather wait as
I'd
well.
rather wait. Okay.
If I might, excuse me. I'm
Yes.
back. I'm here from Next Amp.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So I spoke with the construction manager who oversaw the construction earlier today. Basically, our hope is that, we understand the wetland replication area has been complete, but we understand that all of the revegetation may not have fully set yet. We're hoping to obtain the certificate of compliance, and we're happy to do additional work this summer to go out and do any additional replantings if necessary, so that can be conditioned. But everything else in the project is fully wrapped up at this point and ready to be turned on. So we're hoping to close out our our financing essentially. And so basically the request is to issue the certificate of compliance and then allow us to, if necessary, do additional work in the spring to revegetate if any of it didn't survive the winter.
Okay. Now that says jute matting's in place now, where it needs to be vegetated.
The plantings haven't been done, which is the important part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's basically, I gathered, graded and stabilized from reading it. And I haven't been out there, but I'm never in favor of issuing COC, especially for a replication area that's outstanding.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one, so I would like to hold off on issuing that. Is that, when you say your finance, I mean, is this stopping the turn on of the solar system?
Yeah, I mean, the project has been, National Grid has turned the project on, but we haven't been able to, we can't close out our permanent financing until everything is wrapped up, including the certificate of compliance. My understanding of the site, and unfortunately the construction manager couldn't make it tonight, so I'm here in his place. My understanding is that it has been planted, but that there was a concern that they might not survive the winter, and that because it was planted in the fall, essentially. So my understanding of the site is that it has already been replanted, but that additional plantings might be necessary if anything doesn't make it through the winter. Not that it hadn't been done at all.
Okay. And when is that from, Brad?
What's that?
What you're reading right there from that?
The letter's from December.
Well, nothing's been planted since December, so.
Revegetation of the areas is not complete, and you wouldn't do that after December 28th, between then and
That's
now.
when it was, that's when that's dated?
Yeah,
December
it's
28th?
It's dated December 28th, and it said it hasn't been completed.
Okay.
I mean, we could take a look at it, add another site walk, I guess, between now and next.
Can you do a partial? Can you do it for the work performed, but not the replication? It wouldn't be a complete.
COC.
No, that wouldn't help.
I don't think, I mean, I
Doesn't help out.
can't speak for him, but I wouldn't think it would help out on what
Yeah.
sounds like it needs to be 100%
Yeah, well,
complete.
it's not 100%.
It's not complete, the project's not 100% complete, and I don't like issuing something
Right.
strict in compliance and then saying they'll come back as.
These sidewalks are gonna have to become drive-bys.
Yeah.
Do you or your consultants have any pictures of what's there?
We can get that for you. I don't have that right now.
We do meet again in 2 weeks, we can certainly revisit it
Mhm.
if we
Definitely.
if we decide not to issue it tonight.
And that's from the engineer?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so why don't we talk about this first? So 1991013. I personally don't want to issue that tonight. I'd like to wait 2 weeks, either do a site walk or readdress it at the next meeting if we can't get out there, but if it's not complete, it's not complete.
Should one of us walk that before Friday, just in case?
If it's possible,
If
if you wanna tear yourself away from your busy schedule
I can get my car, I can actually drive down there.
and, okay.
I'll go down, I'll walk it, I'll shoot some pictures of it.
You'll want to coordinate with them access, those sites are usually pretty tight.
Is that
Okay.
fenced in and gated, Ben, do you know?
It is not where the wetland replication is. So basically, the wetland replication is within the National Grid easement.
Okay.
So when you access the site, I don't believe there's a gate right at the road. If there is, it's a quick walk. Yeah, I don't know if the solar array is fenced and gated, but the wetland replication was only necessary to. We were basically upgrading a road crossing through the National Grid easement
Yeah.
and doing some wetland replication along the edge of that road.
Okay.
So that's either accessible by car, or if there is a gate right at the main entrance, it's a quick walk over and it's not
Do you know where
fenced.
that is, Paul?
No, I'm not quite sure.
If you go up Pleasant Street, I'm not sure exactly how, it's up.
Find it.
You're going past, what's the crossing? You're going past Little Red Schoolhouse.
Yeah, Union
Almost like you're
Street.
going to the Apple Orchard.
Right.
It should be on your left.
It's on your left, there's like a
There's like a
road.
dirt road.
There's a dirt road and it goes
So go
down.
past the old schoolhouse.
Yep.
Yes,
So you
yes.
go-
Straight past.
Yep, and it's gonna be on your left.
It's gonna be on the left.
And there's a dirt road and it kinda goes down and it goes back up. And
And
the
there's-
solar array sits up on the
Yeah.
right, and the bottom area is where that replication area should be. It's the roadway to leads to the,
So I go through the intersection, I'm staying
Yep,
on Pleasant,
yep,
it's on
and
the
it's on
left.
your
So it's up-
left.
It's really up.
it's
I
between,
understand,
it's
right?
between,
School?
yeah, it's between Union Street and Shoalin Farms.
Yeah,
On
if you
your
leave
left.
Shoalin Farms, you're too
Okay.
far.
Yeah, if you reach Shoalin Farms, it's not too
And there
far.
was like a signage thing, I don't know if
Is
it's
there a
still.
sign there?
Maybe there's a
something?
gate or something, or
There's
something.
a
Symbol?
construction sign there. It may be taken down at this point.
If
Not
it is,
sure.
it was a big,
It's
it was a
visible
big
from the
construction.
street.
The dirt road is,
It's a dirt road.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think Main Street's gonna be on
I'll
your
go
right,
tomorrow. I'll walk
it's
it.
somewhere
yeah.
in the vicinity
Somewhere
of Main
there,
Street.
but- This is definitely a dirt road that goes down. The replication area is kind of at the bottom
All right.
of that area, so. Yeah, if we can, we'll take a look at it and we'll push it on to our next agenda on March 13th. For 199-1049, the Tesla down Sax Boulevard, we're waiting on stabilization as Brad had said, so that's just gonna keep getting pushed.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And Sheldon Hill, obviously no one's seen any of the site to see markers or that notarized letter stating they're aware, so. Again, gets pushed.
What happens to mail and stuff that comes in now, where does that go?
I don't know, I know Marco, I mean, when I came here earlier, end of last week, he was up here working in his office.
Yeah.
So I think he's kind of between, and I
He
think
said
he's
that, yeah.
trying to do some
I've
stuff.
been down a few times too. and that-
He appears to be at least taking it in and getting, the majority of the stuff to us.
Right.
There's a lot more delay than there used to be, 'cause he's wearing another hat now, but
Right.
it's, at least we're getting that, which is helpful.
Right, so, right now, that's kind of what I gathered, so. I'm not aware of any extension permits that are open. I'm not aware of any communications. The January 23rd meetings, I have not seen them. I'm assuming, Sandy, those come from Marco, correct?
Yep.
They go from you to Marco for,
Yeah, so last time we met, I left them with him. They're on his desktop, so he has them, definitely.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
So those weren't emailed out, were they? I don't remember.
I did not
I
see
didn't
it,
see
so,
I don't remember reading
No.
those.
because that would have been our last meeting, so, no, 2 meetings ago. No, our last meeting. We ended up, yeah. I have no new business that I'm aware of.
You got a lot of new sidewalks.
Yeah. Old business, the Willard Street, I haven't heard anything. I'm imagining there's probably nothing new to report. And the Moosonok Brook, again, I haven't heard anything. And I did speak, when I was here with Marco, I did speak to him about that project, and he had not, that was the end of last week.
I had heard they did hire a contractor,
They
consultant.
They hired a consultant. What did he tell me now? I don't know if they appropriated the money or they hired the consultant.
I was gonna say, because originally we were informed they hired a consultant, and then as time went on, they needed to appropriate the money,
Right,
which I think they did at a recent council meeting,
yeah.
and then, I don't know what's happened since then.
I think that's the last, because like I said, I specifically spoke with Marco at the end of last week, and we were still at the same point as we were the last time.
Yeah.
There was nothing new
Yeah.
at this point, so. Enforcement orders, obviously, 375 just came in front of us. Willard Street, last I know, Marco told me the letter got mailed, certified, registered, whatever. He did not receive the card back.
Right.
That's the last that I
That's the
know.
last I
Well, I
heard
got an
too.
update on that, it went unclaimed, so it'll get returned to us.
It did.
Yep.
Yeah, he's not gonna sign it.
Can we just get a constable to serve? Well, we have in a budget, I mean, for,
Not a wetlands issue though. Use wetlands money
that-
to
well,
do that.
well, no, it wouldn't be wetlands money, it would just be our, it would just come out of our
It would just
regular
be
budget.
budget money, yeah.
Well, unless we do, we're right back where we started. I mean,
Right, he's, I think
just
it's
goes
just
on
gonna
and on
keep
and on.
refusing it, knowing, I mean, he obviously can watch this and read minutes and see, so
Sure.
he's just
Just
gonna
refuse it because he knows
ignore,
it's
he
wrong.
knows what that letter says. I know it came up before, I think I would back that, I just don't know how to financially pay. I wanna say constable's $50 to $100 to have them served. I just don't know how to pay for it, other than.
Is there anyone in the city that, because at least they would be a vendor, if there was a police officer that's also.
I don't know that.
Where is the letter now, Brad? It's in the office?
It's in here right now, actually. If you want, let me look into a couple of things and report back to the commission at the next meeting, and we can go from there, because I have some ideas.
Okay.
But let me do a little bit more homework on it, and then we can talk about it again.
Okay.
Another 2 weeks isn't gonna.
At this
Right.
point, it's not
Yeah.
gonna hurt anything.
2 weeks,
you know.
2 years.
So it did get returned to us unclaimed?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's unclaimed.
1145 Central Street, again, I have not heard anything. Last meeting, were they in front of planning, or I forget what he was at there. I do check on that site when I do drive by, and it's really no change. We haven't had snow to speak of to, that was a
To
big
push into
issue.
the river?
Yeah, I mean, last time I went by, which is a few days ago, it had the hay bales and stuff, but obviously there was no snow, so, that was our big issue, so. We'll keep it. And 35 Berkshire Drive, I do not know of any update. Does anybody else know of any update on that? Okay. No emergency certs. I'd like to ask for project updates, but there's no one here to answer that unless someone knows of any other projects that might be ongoing that you know something about. So, budget, I do not know. We do not have an agent, so we do not have an agent's report. I have a very lengthy, no I don't. I have no chairman's report. So our next meeting is March 13th, 2018, with a filing deadline of March 1st, which is 2 days from now. Anything else that anybody would like to speak about?
Sorry.
All right, with that, meeting is adjourned.
9